And welcome back to Creeps and Crimes
podcast.
I'm Taylar.
I'm Morgan. Happy Thursday. Happy episode 286.
286, even though I did label St. Patty's Day as 286 in the beginning, and then I changed it back to 285.
Damn.
I mean, I've been having a problem.
Yeah.
You know what it was? I stopped doing my handwritten to-do list. I was doing on my computer to-do list. It just
With your new iOS update?
Yeah, it doesn't hit the same.
It doesn't hit the same.
I have
Which
to
is why
write
we got
it.
new stationery.
We got new stationery.
Well, before we start, I do have one thing that I have to break the news to everybody.
Oh, no.
I got boomered.
Oh, what?
I am officially, I guess you can consider me with the rest of the boomers in half the world, because Gerald the dolphin was AI.
Oh, okay. Good. You got boomered.
I got boomered.
You did.
Guys, I can't even express this, that I don't believe that it was AI. Here's why. I work with somebody who is chronically like, that's not real. You saw that on TikTok. Let me look it up and find a news report.
Right.
And when I told him that story,
Yeah.
it's exactly what he did. And we read a news article on the computer. For the life of me, whenever a couple days later, it's like, it's AI, it's fake. That article is nowhere to be found.
Oh my God. So someone did write it up.
Someone did write it up and then either got AI'd themselves
Someone got AI.
and or that was AI.
I'm tired of being
know.
AI'd.
Me too.
It's really annoying. And honestly, I wish there was a way that I could turn AI off.
Yes. Like give me a switch.
Like give me like a safeguard for it. Like if I can call off if I can make spam calls not come to my phone, then I don't want AI coming to my phone.
And even my sister
I'm a
is
papa, by the
a
way.
huge fact checker.
Yeah.
And she had texted me even after I had seen the story and was like, after we recorded, actually,
Yeah.
she was like, oh my God, you have to cover Gerald the dolphin. Like, I'll literally write your notes for you if you cover it.
Oh my God.
And I was like, don't worry, I already talked about it in the intro.
Oh my
So
God.
even Marley got boomed.
Marley got boomed.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really, I'm telling you, there's articles, I'm not fucking crazy. Anyway, that's all. I've gotten a lot
crazy.
of DMs about it being AI, and I was like, I know, guys. Like, I'm aware now.
No one told me one thing.
Taylor's still thinking Gerald's real.
Guys, I was over here being like, yeah, that's connected to the MIT shooting. Like,
exactly.
like I got AI'd so hard.
And speaking
I
of
thought that
AI,
there was
did you
Project
see,
Bluebeam going
Did
on.
you see? I mean, it very well could be real, and they're just duping
and they're
us.
hiding it.
Did you see the email we got today?
No.
Speaking of AI.
No, I haven't. I've been allowing myself to
We
look at my
had
phone.
a bestie email us today, and it was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that your names under Google Gemini are Hannah and Mackenzie.
What?
Creeps and Crimes podcast hosted by Hannah and Mackenzie.
Fuck is Hannah Mackenzie?
Let me read you the full thing, because first off, bestie, your Google search is cracking me up, because it says, where do you leave a review for Creeps and Crimes? I do love that.
You're
anyway,
funny.
this is what Google Gemini says about us per this bestie, because I searched it and it didn't have names at all. It says Facebook, the Creeps and Crimes podcast Facebook page allows you to comment on posts and engage with the hosts, Hannah and Mackenzie. Reddit, use the Reddit community thread r/Creeps and Crimes to post, discuss episodes, or submit stories, or send feedback or personal creepy accounts directly to creepsandcrimes.ca@gmail.com.
Oh.
Hannah and Mackenzie.
Who the hell are Hannah and Mackenzie? Okay, now I have to get on here and see.
It's our alter ego, I guess.
I guess. What?
So welcome back. I'm
Hold the
Mackenzie
fuck
and Taylor's
on.
Hannah. Is there another podcast?
Yes. That's
A new one?
2024. Creeps and Crimes, a true crime and paranormal podcast over my dead fucking body.
By who?
You're
What are
about
the
to be
hosts'
sued.
name?
If I fucking pull this up, I've got to find book of the week. Hold
Who
on.
is it? Because it has all of our right information, our right Reddit, our right email, our
But
right
just because you
Facebook
call it
and website.
Creeps and Crimes, a true crime paranormal, does that make it legal? I mean, there's Creeps and Crimes story time.
Yeah, we know about that one.
It started in 2023. There's not an about. Oh, wait. There's creepsandcrimes.com. Okay, not found. Yeah, because that would take you to our fucking... Because I bought that. I bought all of them. Remember when I went through and I bought all of them? Yeah. Don't know.
So we're not sure who Hannah and Mackenzie are, but I'm Morgan and this is Taylar.
Yeah,
And,
we don't know who that is.
and AI AI'd us.
AI
Mackenzie.
Guys, there's a clothing brand called Creeps and Crimes.
Sorry.
From Germany. Apparently.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. Okay.
Interesting merchandise.
Interesting. What I would love to know what you have. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking on Facebook to see if there's, because now I'm thinking there's someone out there claiming to be us.
Yeah. But it was just weird because Gemini had all of our correct information but our name.
But like, if you get
and
on,
is it because Apple won't let us put a picture with our host?
Well, I'll literally call that woman who talks really slow from Apple, who's our representative.
Yeah, I can.
Guys, if you're new here, let me fill you in on this story. I think we've only ever done it on Patreon, but like, I don't even care anymore, guys.
Yeah, I don't even know her name.
No, I think I remember her name. It was Lindsay. There was this girl. So back when like we first like got on the charts and everything, like in 2022, like when we took off for the first time, it was like what you do when you get an agent is they go around and they introduce you to like your liaison for these like big companies like Apple and Spotify, and that person is like who you contact if there's like a problem with your Apple Connect or like your back end and all that stuff. And there's like so many features that we could be using on Apple, but we refuse to talk because of the interaction that we have.
The one time 10-minute meeting, maybe. Max,
so we
with
got
a PowerPoint presentation.
We did Spotify first, and our person at Spotify, Millie,
awesome.
Amazing, like so our
Still talk to
vibe.
Millie.
We still are friends with Millie, and like just like so like our like just so gets us just and then just like talking fast. Millie has to be like either Midwest or East Coast. Okay,
yeah, for sure.
We get on with Apple. She is so West Coast, and nothing wrong with being West Coast. We have friends that are West Coast, but she talked like this slow.
So with your Apple Connect, you can like do that.
My heart is actually beating out of my chest.
Taylor and I were actually texting each other during the meeting, being like, "What do we do?"
No, and because you know that like,
and we learned nothing.
No, and my Adderall was not Adderall. I mean, like I don't know a single thing that she said to me. I really couldn't tell you a single thing. Like all I was focusing on is get me the fuck off.
I
this
wonder
phone call.
what she's doing today.
I hope she's doing not that.
Yeah,
I hope she does back end, not front end, because that just, I don't think she wanted to be there.
Maybe she was just having a bad day, but it was a
really
bad
doesn't
meeting.
matter if she was having a good day or a bad day. She talks like a fucking turtle.
She's just waiting for a good day to
She can never be on the phone with another East Coaster again, because East Coast we can't pay attention.
Yeah, no,
like
can't.
we really, you got to talk faster than that. No hate to Lindsay. I hope you're doing well, babe. Just don't ever get on a phone call with me again.
Yeah, I don't ever need that.
I wish you well in all of your endeavors, but I think you should only speak to people that have area codes from the West Coast.
I agree.
If you have an East Coast area
if
code,
anyone is not in Pacific time zone, then don't bother.
you don't need to be on the phone with them. Maybe you could get away with a few mountain people, but like absolutely not Central, absolutely not Eastern.
So rough.
It was. Okay, and I forgot to tell you guys, I should have done this when Morgan did her initial disclaimers. Sorry, because we are not on camera today.
Oh yeah.
We will be up on YouTube if I am doing the job that I'm supposed to be doing, but it's audio only today because we just wanted to.
Yeah, and our SD card was being a little
It's just like,
and
I didn't want to fight it.
Yeah.
And so we were like, I don't know if anybody else, I do know that like literally half the United States. Are you guys living? Yes, you are, because I know that you are. Well, we're recording this on Tuesday before you listen to it.
I'm like back in my winter blues right now.
Yeah, like it looks like a beautiful day outside. Like it looks like we should be able to go lay in the sun and it would be warm and we'd have a bathing suit on, have a nice little breeze. No, you walk outside, it's frigid.
Yep.
I have the heat on in my house. We had crazy storms, sonic boom. What was it?
Yeah. Oh wait, what was it called? Or something explosion, expanded explosion,
expansion. Explosive expansion,
something like that. It's basically when the lightning. So okay, Monday morning, Taylor is up texting me while I'm getting ready for work, and that's early.
That's early. I'm up.
And she was like, "Do you hear this?" I think it was right on my house. I'm like, "Yeah, bitch, I hear
I thought
it."
My fucking house got struck by lightning.
Like it was literally. It sounded like a train came through my living room. I was like, "Where is the tornado warning?" Because it is on the ground.
On the ground. It sounded like a freight train. It sounded like a tornado sounds like. Like it was so. It's the only thing I can equate it to, other than a freight train being in your backyard, is a rocket ship taking off a foot away from your house.
In your bedroom over.
Like, it is it was at 5 o'clock, like, what was it, like 5:15?
Yeah.
All I know is it, boo, all through that. My house is
My windows
shaking.
were rattling, doors.
Oh my God. The cats all took off. Like, oh my God. My TV was shaking.
Yeah.
Logan is on his feet. I'm up on my knees in the bed. I think my soul was up before my body was up. And he runs over to the window, rips the window open. He's like, I can't see the tornado. I can't see the tornado. It's still happening, guys. It wasn't like a 2-second
Yeah, no,
thing.
it was like a good 30-second
Good
rumble.
30 seconds. Like,
I thought it, honestly, for 1 second, I was like, is this an earthquake?
no, I did think that too. Wait, I have to find I think it's explosive expansion or something.
Explosive.
Expansion.
Basically, what it is that it was this hot out, you guys, during the storm that it's insane for it to be 20 degrees today because the lightning gets so hot that that's why it builds the pressure.
Okay, so it says that despite the shaking, there was no earthquake in Knoxville on Monday, according to the United States Geological Survey. There haven't been any earthquakes since February 25th.
Whoa.
Who knew about that one?
Yeah.
When a small 2.1 magnitude quake rumbled just after midnight. The quake-like sensation happened during severe thunderstorms rippling through East Tennessee overnight. When thunder and lightning erupted near a building, it's possible that the sound waves could shake and rattle a house, according to the National Weather Service. Okay, this is a phenomenon known as explosive expansion that occurs when a hot strike of lightning heats the air, causing it to expand so rapidly that it compresses the air in front of it, forming a shock wave similar to a sonic boom, according to the National Weather Service. And you can click and pay to read this article. No thanks.
Yeah, we didn't because we know. Taylor's like, do you know where it struck? I'm like, in between our houses. I swear. What do you mean? I didn't click. I don't pay.
It was directly between our fucking houses. Like,
it was so loud. Ollie was absolutely pitiful, you guys.
Oh, horrible. Poor Ollie.
I had to put his sweater on.
Bad.
He was, up in my business. Aaron was getting in the shower. He gets ready for work like 30 minutes after I leave. Mm-hmm. He said that he thought Ollie was literally going to jump in the shower with him because his head was just staring at him the entire time.
Oh, buddy.
But no, it was so crazy. And also all the comments on that post were like, the lightning was so bright. And it was.
Yeah.
It was coming. The blackout
I could see it through the
curtains in the
windows.
bedroom.
Yeah.
It was literally coming through the blackout curtains.
That's crazy.
Everyone's like, I thought we were getting bombed.
No, literally.
Like, it was so bright and so loud and rattled.
And we had been up all fucking night because of course, because the storms would never hit during the day for us.
No, when do they ever?
Oh my God, would
Except
they?
that one tornado that did
the
take
one
out
that took out your, and then also the ones in 2011 got wrecked me. Yeah, those, that does.
Yeah,
happen.
those ones, the ones that get us,
the bad
ones do come.
Yeah, they do come during the day. Of course they would. But the ones that never get us, but we
I just
stress.
can't believe there was not a single tornado warning that came through our phones.
Well, no, I mean that's why I was so concerned because I was like,
they don't know. They don't know
what's happening. We don't have enough radar. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Well, anyways, 3 a.m. That's when it hits us, and it went from 0 to 100. Like, oh my God, it went from being just like
insane.
Because I had gotten up to like, I don't know what had happened. I'd gotten up a little bit before that. I just like wasn't. You guys know I've not been sleeping well, and I was already anxious about it. So I just like kept waking up, kept waking up. And I was probably up at like 2 and I could hear the wind whistling, but it wasn't like howling. I wake up at 3, y'all. I mean, it sounds like we are in a fucking wind tunnel. Yeah. The house, everything is, I thought the tree was going to fall.
Yeah,
like
me
it
too.
was so, and then I'm like, oh my God, all these beautiful blooms that
Everyone
just got.
just planted over the weekend.
Literally, I'm pissed. And then now everything's frozen.
Yep.
Because then, guys, that happens overnight. Whistling, howling, and the sonic
boom. To put
boom.
into perspective of the temperature in the morning, I left for work in my regular set of scrubs with just my very thin scrub jacket.
Yep.
Just to put into perspective.
And the day before, guys, I was in a tank top.
And it's shorts.
Flip-flops, and my flowy linen pants.
Yep.
Just so we're all clear where we were.
I walked Ollie in shorts and a t-shirt.
Exactly. So we wake up. It's still warm when we woke up. And I even made a comment to Logan. I was like, oh, it's really not as cold as I thought it was going to be. Because we knew that a cold front was coming. That's what was pushing all these storms this way. Y'all, I look outside at 2. Oh, it's fucking snowing.
It's snowing.
It's snowing. It's frigid.
left-
It's 40 degrees. It's 30 degrees.
I left work absolutely like
Shivered.
couldn't feel my fingers.
Nope.
Just covered in snow. My car was covered in snow. Taylar had texted me like earlier that day and was like, yeah, well, I think there's supposed to be snow coming. I said, snow?
Yeah, it was snowing in Chattanooga when I texted you that.
Insane.
That was at 1.
And so then I'm like, oh, this is prime time to go to Trader Joe's and Kroger. Like, this is it. Everyone's going to be at home. People, okay, it was snowing, but it was not sticking because, like we said, it was 80 degrees.
It was
the day
more
before.
Like hail too.
It was the weirdest snow. It
looked
like fake
salt.
snow. It was like salt.
Yeah, like it was just like
so
chunky.
weird.
It was weird looking. Well, because it's not supposed to be snowing.
These people, you guys, were
But wait,
don't
wait,
even
wait.
get me started in the parking
Scratch the snow. It's not supposed to be snowing because literally we have pictures from 2022 out with holding bottles of Jameson in like 3 inches of snow. Or
you're right.
more than that, like 5 inches of snow.
You're right.
That's crazy.
Well, they call it. So I actually
El
had
Nino.
I had a patient and he was like, well, have you ever read like the East Tennessee Almanac or whatever? It's like based local here. And we have different, they call them different winters. It's like dogwood winter and it's based off of like blooming.
What blooms?
I forget what he was. There's 4 of them.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Are we in dogwood this year?
Well, no, I guess from my understanding, I didn't look it up, but from my understanding, it's like, it's like a 2-week time period and all 4 happen in 1 year.
Yes.
And right now we're on 3 out of 4. So
We
we'll
can't be
have
at
one-
dogwood because I only have buds on my dogwood. I don't even have a bloom.
What are the stinky trees called? The white ones?
Oh, the ones that need to go?
Yeah.
I call them cum trees, but they're
because those
it
bloomed
starts with a
last
D.
week.
Yeah, they bloomed last week, and there's right now South Carolina. This is funny. Has a bounty on them. If you chop them down, they'll send you money and a baby tree that's native to get rid of them because they're invasive. They're horrible for the environment.
Damn, and you know it's so sad because they are so pretty.
They're
when
beautiful. They
bloom.
just smell like cum, and
Yeah,
they
and
look.
vagina.
Yeah, it's just
They smell like sex.
Yeah, they smell like sex with a condom.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah, they're disgusting. Aaron, we were walking. He's like, "What
in the fuck is
that?" And I was like, "That's the tree above you." He's like, "No way." I'm like, "Yeah,
Go get a whiff.
yeah."
That's it. What the fuck
It
are those
only ever
called?
lasts like 3 days, though. The smell does, like
Yeah.
right when they bloom, and then it usually.
Now I don't know. You say that, and then you'll be walking, and you'll get it.
Whenever
a
we
whiff.
get to our 4th winter,
Yeah, literally, that's exactly what happens.
just insane, you guys.
But this, what we're seeing, the weather patterns that we've had this year, and like at the end of last year, is the most like aligned with exactly what happened in 2011
so we're gonna have really bad tornadoes
in April. Yeah, yeah.
That is fantastic.
Fantastic.
Can't wait.
I don't know about Knoxville. I know that like South is gonna get it.
Yeah.
South of us is gonna get it. I think Joplin, Missouri was that year.
Yeah. Someone
So-
had requested me to do the Angel People
Yeah.
from Joplin, Missouri. And I actually started notes. Well, I didn't start notes, but I started looking into it
yeah.
maybe 2 weeks ago or so. And that was the saddest thing
I
I
know.
have ever. I was like, I cannot cover this. Actually,
There's,
that is so sad.
The Weather Channel has this like documentary of it
Mm-hmm.
that's really sad, but like really informative about like exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Anyways, not on YouTube because shit's been crazy and we're not finding this damn SD card. So we're just yapping like normal.
We are just yapping like normal, but we do have
Long
my case
cases.
is long, so we should.
And mine's definitely got to be long.
Yeah,
because
she said
kept going.
I'm really in it right now.
I know, I'm
yeah,
deep.
she's a good 18er.
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm at 18 because the last I had checked, I was like, oh no, I'm only at 5. And then before I knew it, I was in this hole that like, I'm talking about like I was listening. I had to go find this like book and like find a tape because of course it only came up when I was scripting.
Right.
Where else would it come up? Not yesterday, not the day
Always,
before,
yeah.
not last week. Only literally an hour before we're recording.
Yeah, of course.
So, and you know what? Everyone can talk all the shit that they want to about Wikipedia, but I wouldn't have known about it if I hadn't just skimmed through Wikipedia.
That's so funny you say that because I wouldn't have known about something in particular to my case unless I had skimmed through Wikipedia.
Because if anything, everyone hated on us so fucking hard about Wikipedia. But if anything, it gives you the things that like you didn't even know were there. And then also Reddit does that for you too. But on Reddit, you got to search and search
Right,
and
and
search
hope
and
that
search.
it's real.
And then on the Wikipedia, you see it and it like gives you a source for it. You go down that source and then you can find other sources from that one.
sources, yeah.
So like, talk your shit about Wiki, but like she's never failed me.
Yeah.
She really hasn't. But also, I'm not a fucking idiot who's just gonna
people that
not
are like,
double check.
Anyone can go in there and edit Wikipedia. I've never been able to do that.
First off, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
I would love to actually learn how, so we could change Hannah and Mackenzie to Morgan and Taylar and create a Wikipedia page for us.
I know we can create a Wikipedia page. I just don't know how. I think we have to donate. Right? Don't you have to like donate to like Wikipedia?
I don't know. Wikipedia is always asking me for money.
Always. Oh, if you want to keep Wikipedia free. Just
you guys
let it die, babe.
You guys have actually been saying that for 10 years.
Yeah, like
I feel like even in high school, like you were begging for money.
And like I'm just confused. If you're gonna die, just die.
Yeah,
just lay down and die, babe. Like it's okay. No one likes you anyways, from what we found.
Yeah.
But I gotta be
chewed up, spit out.
I love a Wikipedia day. Like
me too.
I'll sit there for an hour and a half.
Research aside, like and podcasting
just for
aside,
funsies.
Actually, I'm always on Wikipedia.
I'm always on Wikipedia. Like. Trust and believe. You know what I was doing the other day? Not that I wanted to do a serial killer. I was thinking like I haven't done a serial killer in a really long time. This could be like I'm coming up on a time frame that like I could do a 2-parter or a multi-parter. Mm-hmm. I wonder which one I would like. I could go BTK is what I was thinking. I know you don't want me to, but I don't think it's the time actually. If I don't think it's gonna be this one. I just don't think. But I'm just saying that. Just saying that if there, I was like, I could do one in here soon because like we kind of like got caught up and we've gotten our schedule worked out that I would have the like time to do it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I could do one, and I was looking around and. I got on Wikipedia because there's like a Wikipedia page that says United States serial killers. And on that page, it links you to like the other Wikipedia. It like tells you like just the information you need to know up front. And then it's got 2 different columns. It's got unidentified and identified. So not today, whatever day that was, I was like, I'm just going to scroll through the unidentified. Maybe there's one I've never heard of before. So many that I've never heard of before. But let me tell you, every single one, if you kept scrolling down the unidentified, pissed me off a little bit. Actually, a lot of bit. It was serial killers of prostitutes, sex workers, like drug addicts, homeless individual or unhoused individuals. And it hurt my heart so bad that I had to get off of there and be like, oh my God. But then I was like, and so you click on those pages to read, about the victims and like see like where they were. Nothing. Just like there was first victim was found this day. They had been reported missing. What's their name? What's their story? Give me more. Mm-hmm. Nothing. It was so upsetting. Yeah. I had to get off of there.
That is really sad.
Yeah. But it was.
I think our Patreon map can definitely solve some cases, and maybe it can be one of them.
Well, okay, that's another thing is so outside of being like sex workers or like unhoused or people that are struggling with addiction, there were a few that it was like there were these types of murders or attacks between these years. Like, I mean, they go back as far as like the 1700s, and then there's some that are like from 1930 to 1990, and it happened all in this area, and the MOs were similar, but there's like over 40 victims that are believed to be attached, and da-da-da-da-da. So I click on those and I'm like, what is this talking about? And basically they were these groups from, and we've read about them on What's New Wednesdays, where it's like these colleges that do research like criminal psychology, forensic psychology, all that stuff. These groups have connected these massive, like, different crimes, like crime sprees, all into one group and all into one area. And using MO tactics and like what was found at the scene has connected like all these different crimes. It was crazy. But then I found one that it was a railway guy, so kind of like the railway killer that we know of, but he was from the 1800s. He was active from like 1880 to 1905, and his MO was the exact same at every house, and he would just like go across every state and jump off a train and go kill a family and get back on the train.
So his great-great-grandpa.
Yeah, and it was the craziest thing, and the name of him was crazy. Like, the name was crazy. And there were like these suspects that they had, and they had tried to get DNA testing done like a few years ago. But they're like, we need more, like the technology's got to be more advanced. Oh my God, how depleted is this stuff?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it has to be. It's from the 1800s. But they had like kept pieces of like evidence that had DNA on it that could be recovered, but it just couldn't be tested right now or would destroy it.
I wonder how many serial killers have like, they go down the same like line of lineage. Like,
yeah,
how many
that would
are
be
actually
crazy.
related
To each other. Well, that's
like
the nature versus
distantly.
nurture. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pee my pants. So
Okay,
I
well,
do have
we-
to pee, but
Let's do
Yes.
our
okay.
thing.
If you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
If you got a glass, pour that shit up.
And let's get creepy.
Okay, Maury Poo, what do you got for us today in your million pages of notes?
Okay, so this was requested by Phoebe through our Patreon chat.
Okay.
Thank you, Phoebe. And this is the Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
Okay.
And I had asked, for some reason, halfway through this, I was like, I feel like Taylor's covered this.
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I've covered it.
I searched and I didn't see anything. So, on September 1st of 1944, a woman named Eileen Kearney and her 3-year-old daughter Dorothy Ellen were at home in Mattoon, Illinois, unknowingly about to become the first case of a community-wide conspiracy. Sources differ on this, but some say that Eileen's husband was deployed at the time, serving in the Navy, during which her sister Martha stayed with them to give an extra hand around the house. However, some sources say that it was actually Martha's husband that was deployed, and so Martha was staying with her sister because she didn't want to be home alone, and that it was Eileen's husband actually that would come in later in the story. Either way, it was a normal night in a very quiet little town. Mattoon didn't have much going on until the 1940 discovery of petroleum reserves, leading to a small oil boom over the next 20 years.
Ooh.
Bringing in some new faces and potentially a new kind of crime. That evening, Eileen started smelling a sickening sweet odor, and that is a quote from Eileen in the local newspaper.
Okay.
And almost immediately, she went into full panic because it seemed that she had become paralyzed. Unable to move, with this tightness in her chest and this dryness, burning sensation in her throat. This temporary paralysis lasted 30 minutes. However, during those 30 minutes, Eileen was able to communicate to her sister Martha, who had no idea what was going on as she didn't smell anything and she was able to move just fine. Martha then dials up her husband, Bert. Now, again, the sources differ, and it could have been Eileen's husband who was just out, who comes full speed over to his sister-in-law's house, only to pull up and see a tall man in dark clothes and a tight-fitted hat, the Hat Man, lurking outside near a bedroom window.
The literal Hat Man.
So Bert starts yelling at this guy, starts chasing him down the street. However, he's unable to catch him. That next day, they call the police, and that next day, the story was all over the town's newspaper, with headlines reading "Anesthetic Prowler on Loose" and detailing Eileen Kearney's story. But this was just the beginning. Once the article went out, more and more people began coming forward, specifically a man named Orban Rafe and his wife, stating that the night before Eileen's event, the same thing happened to them.
Really?
In the middle of their sleep, they both woke up to a strange smell inside their bedroom. His wife had attempted to get out of bed to check the stove, believing that maybe this is just a gas leak, let me shut the stove off, but discovered that she could not move her legs and was partially paralyzed. And Orban was as well. For the next 90 minutes, they laid there, unable to move. And come to find out, they weren't the only ones that night, because also on August 31st, an anonymous young mother, a lot of these victims, they come forward as anonymous, so it'll just be like Mrs. Anonymous.
Yeah.
That
I would honestly too.
Yeah. An anonymous young mother came forward stating something similar. She woke up to the sound of her daughter coughing violently in the night, but when she attempted to get out of bed to check on her, she couldn't move. Her legs went completely numb and unresponsive. And the reports kept flooding in. The same night as Eileen, September 1st, Mrs. Charles Ryder called into the police station stating that she was also a victim of the same attack as Eileen. She reported hearing this plop sound outside the house and then started to smell this sweet odor, the same sweet odor that Eileen did. Shortly after, her hands started tingling, she was dizzy, and she said that she felt this sort of floating sensation. She had called out to her husband, who was fine and who was able to go around the house and check the area, but came back after finding nothing. At this time, with 4 now open cases, the police believed this all to be a suspected robbery as the primary motive for this attack. However, they had no leads until September 5th, when Carl and, I don't know how to pronounce this, it's Bela, Bealah. It's definitely an old, I've seen it like on grandmother's names. It's like Bela.
Bela?
Bela.
Bela.
Bela. It's so pretty.
That sounds right, yeah.
Bela Cords returned home. So Carl and Bela, husband and wife, returned home after a long day at around 10 p.m. They got inside their house and they go to lock the door when they realize, what was that?
Oh, wait, is it Bella?
Is it because I feel like B-E-A.
Oh, is it B-E-A?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you said
like
B-E-A.
Bo, like Be.
Yeah, no, that's
Bola.
Bela. Bela. Yeah.
Maybe it is Bella. No, Bela.
No, it would not be Bella. Yeah,
Okay.
no. For some reason, I didn't hear the A when you spelled it out.
Yeah. They get inside and they go to lock the door when they realize that, what was that on the porch?
What was that?
There was a piece of white cloth sitting on their front porch next to the screen door. You know how sometimes you just walk in your house and you're like, wait a second.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. Me with the storm had brought beer cans into my front
You're
yard.
like, wait, Logan, were you drinking a beer at 3 a.m.?
We would never drink that.
Bush latte at 3 a.m.?
No,
Logan?
thank you. No bush latte for me, please. Yeah, and we walk outside, and we're just walking to the car and walking back, and we had gone somewhere and came back. We're walking up. I get inside the house, and I was like, "Did I see that?"
Yeah,
correctly?
I do it so many times.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. Mrs. Bela Cords picks it up and she puts it to her nose and she smells it. And as soon as she inhales, she becomes violently ill.
Did she get like chloroformed?
She described it as being similar to an electric shock, which I'm like, Miss Bela, have you ever been electrocuted before?
Why was her first attempt why
Why did she smell
that?
it? Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it had a smell coming from it.
Maybe. I thought the same thing. I even put a question mark, like she smells it.
Yeah.
And then also the electric shock. I'm like, how do you know that? And immediately her face starts swelling, her mouth and her throat start burning. She begins vomiting everywhere. God. And again, almost immediately, she felt weak and had partial paralysis of her legs. Her husband called the police, and when they got there, they did an entire search of the area. But finally, they had some physical evidence. While looking around, in addition to the cloth, they also found a skeleton key that they described as well used on the sidewalk. And every time I hear skeleton key, I think of a legit skeleton key because that's the key to my house or one of them.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not. It's just one of those old keys.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, not the skull key.
Yeah, not the skull key. Well used. So they described it as well used on the sidewalk leading up to the porch. And also next to it was a large, almost empty tube of lipstick. The police took the cloth. They did a chemical analysis of it, yet it comes back clean. There were no chemicals on the cloth that could explain Bela's physical reaction. She told the police and the locals that she believed, I know what happened. I believe that cloth was put on my porch to knock out my family dog who sleeps on that porch so that the culprit could break into my house unnoticed.
Okay, that's a good theory, Bela.
I like it, Bela.
I like where your head's at, Bela.
Going. I don't know if there's an accident in 1940 Illinois. I'm sure there's some sort.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like a very, very Midwest accent.
So, I'm sorry, but Mrs. Cords wasn't the only one because that same day, Mrs. Leonard Burrell reported the same exact odor entering her house. She experienced nausea, weakness, and dizziness. Her husband searches the outside of their home, but they couldn't find anyone or anything. The next day, September 6th, 8 more people fell victim to the gas attack. A woman named Laura Jenkin reported smelling the gas drifting into her home, and she believes that it came from outside the window. After smelling it, she got dizzy, nauseous, had a difficulty moving, temporary paralysis. The other 7, Ardell Spangle, Fred Goebel, Glenda Hendershute, Daniel Spoon, Cordy Taylar, and sisters Frances and Maxine Smith. Of these 8, Fred Goebel was one of the only ones who claimed to have spotted a prowler near the home. Over the next 7 days, 9 more people would become victims of these gas attacks.
Oh my God.
And the last one, September 13th, Bertha Birch. Bertha reported something a bit different than the rest. She claimed that she saw the attacker and said that it was not a man, but a woman disguised as a man, which would make sense with the lipstick.
Right.
Police reportedly also found small footprints around her like bedroom window, suggesting that this theory actually might be right because they were very petite footprints. Keep that in mind. Over the course of 14 days, police logged more than 24 reports, all involving these strange sweet odors, sudden dizziness, temporary paralysis, and all only lasting for a short amount of time, and all of them having full recovery. However, after thorough investigation into each with no gas, no chemicals, and no equipment ever recovered, by the time all of these stories spread through the small town of Mattoon, they had a name, the Mad Gasser. Residents began sleeping with weapons. Everyone was being extra cautious of their surroundings. And these people were terrified because let's not forget, this was World War II. And people immediately feared chemical warfare or a terroristic attack on their small community.
Fuck a weapon. I'm sleeping in a gas mask. Side note.
Side note. I have one. Just kidding.
I wish I had one. But side note, what I need to call, what I need to say, I need to tell you guys is, you know how we're not on camera? I want you guys to know that Morgan's looking at the location.
I am. I know. I keep catching myself.
Morgan keeps looking at the location of the camera where it would be, where she's like telling you guys like just like such an intense part of the story. And
Shut
she's
up.
like, come on guys, look at me, stay with me, stay with me,
everyone.
And she's got it so, like literally the location. I do it too. I catch myself doing it all the time. I was doing it during the intro, and we were both doing it during the intro. But I'm cackling watching you do it because I'm like, hey, babe, there ain't nothing over there.
I know.
And when we do Patreon, we don't look like that.
I know. Because
normally when we do Patreon,
my feet are in the air.
I don't care what the quality is.
I'm laying down. We don't give a fuck.
No.
I'm 40 feet from my mic from the side.
Sorry, guys. That was so funny watching you.
No, I know. I mean,
and you're looking at them at like the places where we were watching on YouTube. It'd be like
waiting for a response.
Yeah.
I know. Shut up.
That's so good.
I'm embarrassed now. My cheeks are red. I'm feeling flushed.
My cheeks are also red from giggling. And also because I have the biggest zit. I have two zits on the same side. And you don't know why I have them. Where I have them, they're in that really porous area, like just outside of where your nostrils attach to your cheek, like where your smile lines start. Because 3 days ago, Taylar 3 days ago passed me. Was putting on a spray tan.
Oh, past you. I'm like, Taylar who passed you on the street?
No, former Taylar. Was putting on a self tan on my chest and arms.
Did you ever get the 10-minute express or the 10-minute?
No, I didn't. I haven't gotten it yet because every time I've gone to go get it in Ulta, it's not there. It's been sold out. So I put on the little self tan for just like my chest because I was wearing a tank top and my legs are darker than my arms right now. So I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and put a self tan on my arms so I can wear this tank top to this event that I had to go to this weekend. And so put it on. And I'm about to be done, so I put it up to my chin, right? Like, that's how I do it. I put it up on my ears to my chin, down, and then I did it, like, to my boobs, and then I, like, faded it down so it wouldn't be a harsh line, and I could let it, go naturally. Well, I'm done, and I got it done so fast because normally I'm used to doing my entire body that I was like, dang, I have a lot left over on this. Should I put it on my face? Normally I never do that. And then I thought, you know what? Fuck it. Like, it would just look so good if I put it on my face. Put it on my face. Who cares? My skin's been fine. No. Breakout, so, like cysts right here.
My skin was doing so good. And then I dermaplaned because I was getting my stash was coming in, you guys. And my cheeks.
Right here. I have it right.
Yeah.
So like
mine come like right here. They're really annoying. And my stash, it was pretty dark actually.
My stash was horrible the other day.
So I took it all off and I woke up the next day. I was like, okay. I just had little babies.
I started getting like 2 hairs on my chin, one right here and one over here that are dark.
I have one that like I can never actually find it, but when it's like it grows.
Is it a white long one?
It's light colored, yeah.
Yes.
And it's like it grows like
10 times faster?
Yeah, like it's not there one day and then it's 4 inches the next day.
I have one on my elbow, like around my elbow on my right arm, and then I have one above my left eyebrow, like, and it's white, like it's a white hair.
It should be there right now because
it's a different texture.
I haven't plucked or pulled it in probably 7 months, but it's not there. And then one day I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be there.
It's because you're thinking about it, like you manifest. I literally have been worried that it's like a worm. that keeps like coming out.
Ew.
Yeah, because
like a nerve ending.
Yeah, because it like just comes out of nowhere. Like, and I feel for it all the time because it'll just randomly pop up. Like I did it 2 days ago because I had dermaplaned up here because it fixes my hairline from looking so wonky. And I was looking for it before I dermaplaned because I want to pull it. Duh.
Right.
That's what I want to do. That's what I'm here for. So I like made sure it was. I've been like pushing up the hairs, like looking for it. Can't find it anywhere. In 2 days from now, just because I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, I'll have one 6 inches.
I'll be in the car, makeup done.
Yeah.
Can't really.
And it'll be reaching the floor. It'll be so long.
It'll be touching my fucking ear.
Okay. So the people of the small town, they're freaking on edge. And because this was World War II. So they're thinking chemical warfare, some sort of attack on their community. And they had every right to fear it, especially when the U.S. military pulls up to their town.
Oh, hell yeah.
The U.S. military had spent years preparing for the possibility of chemical warfare, and the idea that somebody might be experimenting with a gas attack inside a small American town was taken seriously enough that the military specialists were quietly consulted by local police. Ooh. So the local authorities reached out to nearby military installations and these chemical warfare experts to determine whether any known gas could produce the symptoms residents were describing: the temporary paralysis, the dizziness, the nausea, and now the infamous sweet smell.
Sweet sex.
Sweet sex. According to a later analysis by a man named Robert Bartholomew, investigators were particularly interested in whether any common industrial or military chemicals could drift through windows in small quantities and still cause this reaction in people. At the same time, chemists and investigators began examining the few pieces of physical evidence that had been collected during the incidents, specifically the cloth that was discovered at the home of Carl and Bela Quartz. Investigators expected to find some sort of trace of anesthetic or poison, but as we know, they found nothing. So it was sent off to the military laboratory testing to the chemical warfare experts for more testing, which reportedly found nothing again. No toxins, no sedatives, no compounds consistent with any kind of chemical weapons that military experts were familiar with at the time. That result only deepened this local mystery and further divided investigators over whether they were dealing with a real attacker or something else entirely. And as this investigation dragged on without answers, another problem began emerging. Fear inside the small town of Mattoon itself was reaching a boiling point. Residents were no longer willing to wait for authorities to solve this mystery. People began locking their windows, installing extra lights outside their homes, in many cases keeping weapons close at hand during the night. Some citizens started forming their own patrols, determined to catch this mysterious gasser if the police could not. And in the coming days, that fear would escalate even further as armed residents took to the streets searching for the mad gasser that they believed was hiding among them.
Vigilante justice. If you're not going to do anything about it, we're going to have to do something about it.
That's white, is what I just said.
and that's some white shit.
That is right. This quiet town of Mattoon was about to descend into this level of paranoia that only a few small communities had ever experienced before. Police began receiving these calls, not just about strange smells, but about armed men moving through the streets, chasing shadows, and in some cases, nearly firing on innocent people. What had started as an attempt to protect the community was quickly spiraling out of control. So according to reports from the Mattoon Journal-Gazette, authorities grew increasingly concerned that somebody was going to get hurt, not by the mysterious gasser, but by a frightened neighbor pulling the trigger in the dark.
I mean, yeah.
At the same time, sightings of the gasser became even more frequent and even more inconsistent. Some were saying it was a tall man in dark clothing. Others were like, no, it's a short person, a short figure. Another claimed the figure looked almost inhuman. The descriptions were no longer lining up. And that fear didn't go away. If anything, it only got worse because now it wasn't just a single attacker. It felt like the entire town was being watched. People were like, there's more than one. None of these are lining up. Like, We're all going to die. Every sound outside a window, every shadow across the yard, every unfamiliar face walking down the street was all becoming a possible threat. And in that kind of atmosphere, something strange started to happen. Just as the reports began to peak, then just as suddenly as they had started, they began to stop. And something took their place: doubt. Authorities who had spent days searching for evidence were coming up empty every single time. Like we said, there was no chemical residue had ever been confirmed at any of these locations. No devices, no suspect has been identified. And as pressure began to explain what was happening, officials began to shift their tone. Instead of warning the public about a dangerous criminal, some investigators started suggesting that the incidents might not be attacks at all. They might be something else. In the days that followed, local coverage, especially from the Mattoon Journal-Gazette, began introducing a new idea to the public, that the entire thing is a result of mass hysteria, a reaction fueled by fear, stress, and the atmosphere of the time, which is the explanation that they offer today, almost 80 years later, that the mad gasser of Mattoon was just a case of mass hysteria.
What?
Yep. That's what they settle on. Even today, that's what the explanation is for the mad gasser.
But there was footprints. Oh, it could have been her own.
Yeah. They just said during the time, like given the time frame.
Yes,
and
like, I mean, really.
however,
though.
I have some other explanations, but according to Robert Bartholomew, that same analyst that I mentioned before, the conditions in Mattoon were almost perfect for a case of mass psychogenic illness. It was a small town. It was an invisible threat, media coverage amplifying every single report, and a population that was already on edge because of the war. So once that first story broke, it wasn't just informing the people, it was kind of influencing them. People began interpreting ordinary smells that could have been factory fumes, car exhaust, even household cleaner chemicals as something far more dangerous. And then the physical sensations like dizziness or nausea, which could have had countless explanations, were suddenly being linked into the same cause. And as more people believed it, more people experienced it.
Yeah.
So basically, as soon as officials stopped treating it as an active threat, the incidents didn't escalate. They didn't lead to an arrest. They just kind of stopped. There was no suspect ever caught. There was no explanation confirmed. There was no final sighting. So after roughly 2 weeks of chaos, fear, and national attention, the mad gasser of Mattoon vanished just as mysteriously as they had appeared, leaving behind a town full of shaken residents and a lot of reports with no clear answers. And that one question that still lingers even 80 years later: was there ever really anyone there at all? Which is why I offer mass hysteria as only just the first conspiracy theory to who the mad gasser was, because I have a feeling that it might be a little bit more sinister than that.
I mean, yeah.
One of the top leading conspiracy theories about the mad gasser is that they were the victims of a government chemical test.
I literally
cover-up.
was thinking that. I'm not even fucking lying. Like,
Yep.
I was thinking that.
As we know, the United States was deep in World War II, and behind the scenes, there were very real chemical programs being developed.
Yes.
Testing, research, experimentation with gases wasn't just happening. It was their fucking priority during this time.
We had to. I mean, and honestly, it had been going on since World War I, whenever, like, that type of warfare was first introduced.
Right.
And it just was getting more and more advanced in the midst of World War II. Not saying that they should have been testing citizens by any means. I'm just saying that the research into it had to be done.
Exactly. And not all of this research, as we know now, was public.
No.
Actually, none of it
It's
was
probably
public.
still not either.
So the theory goes like this: what if the gasser wasn't a person at all, but a test? Maybe even an accidental release, a controlled experiment by the government that didn't go as planned, or even something being quietly tried on a small population to observe the effects. It would explain a few things: why the symptoms were so consistent, why no suspect was ever caught, and why the military even got involved in the first place.
That's the thing. Why the hell would they show up?
Exactly.
Yeah. No.
And why, after a few weeks of chaos, that everything just stops. Because if it was a test, there wouldn't be a suspect to find, just the military or the higher up decision to end it all. But maybe the strangest part of all is that once officials began suggesting mass hysteria as the explanation, the case completely lost momentum. Almost like the narrative had been redirected. Sound familiar? Because 80 years later, they're still redirecting our fucking narratives.
Right.
So, also, let's not forget, especially during this time, a top secret civilian experiment that was unknown to said civilians partaking isn't really that hard to believe.
No. Oh my God. We could we
And
name
the fact that the paralytic would last in such a short amount of time and that these people never reported break-ins, like, what was the point of it? It was the perfect military weapon in the perfect area to test it out. It was enough to knock enemies down for 90 minutes or so and either capture them as enemies of war or do whatever they would do over there. And then also, not to mention, I didn't write this down, but it just popped up in my head when I was talking through this. is that all of the different descriptions, that sounds like CIA to me. Like they're like
in
very
a hood, yeah,
like discreetly watching through the windows to like write down like what's happening, how long it lasts, like what they're experiencing.
Well, they could also be wearing like gas masks too, like based on the
right, and that's why you see little footprints or shorter figures or really tall figures or men or women or that sounds like.
And also it's so like, it's not wild to me. Of course, why would it be wild to me? This is so common, but like the majority of the people who first smelled or experienced this were women.
Yeah.
So it'd be easier to write off the women. Of course the women would smell it as it was coming through. Because what I was thinking, if this, okay, let's say that it's not mass hysteria. Let's say that this was like a serial killer that was going around and was like a mad scientist who was doing this shit, which we know has happened. Yeah, it has happened. We've had crazier shits happen. Anthrax. Like, oh my God. But like, let's say that that was the case. I was sitting here thinking, okay, so what they were doing was putting it into like the AC units.
Right.
And it was going into the house, going across the house. It wasn't enough to kill animals that were in the house. It was only enough to just like knock out.
And especially houses in the 40s, like not all rooms were as ventilated as the other. So like primary rooms would have larger ventilation than things like bedrooms because they prioritize.
Yes.
So these people like whose sister, the very first case, like her sister was in the house but didn't experience it. Well, she could have been in the bedroom while the one that was affected by it was in the living room with larger ventilation.
Right. And who knows, like there could have even been like just under the house. They could have put something under the house where that was, or like through the window, or you know,
everyone left the windows open in the 40s.
Exactly.
Also.
Like, and it was also what month?
Fall time.
Fall time. Okay, your windows are open.
September, actually.
And you're in Illinois.
Yeah.
Like
end of summer.
Of course. Yeah. Definitely your windows are open because that's like you're not going to turn on the air. And do they even have air in the 40s?
Right.
I don't know. Did they have heat and air in the 40s?
I don't know, actually.
I don't know what HVAC is.
That's what I am wondering.
So they had AC units?
You're right. It was 40 below. Okay. So that's the first theory. That's the largest theory, of course. The second theory goes off something that I said at the very, very beginning. Mattoon's oil boom. Some believe this to be actually an accident or a side effect of that new petroleum reserves that were being mined at the time or drilled. I don't know how petroleum works either way. And or there was a lot of pushback from locals about becoming this new industrial town and having new faces and strangers becoming their neighbors. So there's actually two sides to this theory. Some suggest that it was actually the locals in cahoots. Where was I going with that?
I think I knew what you were saying, but I think cahoots is like the funnier way to say it. Like there's actually like a word.
So some suggest it was actually the locals in cahoots in an attempt to stop the drilling and mining, stating that, oh, that gas is making me sick. They're causing mass panic. While the other side believing that this was an accident on the big oil's part, a leak into the water supply, or just a release of gas into open air, specifically releases of things like hydrocarbon vapors or hydrogen sulfide. Hydrocarbon vapors are gases that come from crude oil and petroleum products. So when inhaled in enclosed or poorly ventilated spaces, they can cause dizziness, nausea, headaches, confusion, and temporary weakness or loss of muscle control.
Period.
So I reached out to my brother for this because this is just what he does for work. Like this is what he studies.
He's like a geologist.
Yeah,
right?
and he currently works at a giant oil refinery. So I was like, this is my text to him. Hydrocarbon vapors from crude oil. Could they be exposed to a town in the 40s that had just started their own small oil boom through petroleum reserves? Like so much exposure that people were immediately getting sick and experiencing temporary paralysis.
And is there corn on Oak Island?
That's the random text my poor older brother gets. He goes, it's possible. It's probably not from the crude itself, but byproducts naturally occurring in it, most likely H2S or benzene. Benzene is a central nervous system disruptor. H2S is more of a respiratory disruptor, but is super lethal in small dosages. I mean, it could really be anything crude oil. Will also have mercury, lead, antimony, and all the bad heavy metals. So just that's my source.
I wonder if
that's my source for this theory.
Mattoon, you know how like years later after, like by now I would have been affected.
I keep calling it Mattoon, but I think it's Mattoon. No, it's Mattoon. I listened to it.
Oh shit, we're in Flow Maton and what was it?
Lancaster.
All those fucking places. By the way, when I covered that case, that was in like Pensacola area, and it was like center form something.
Did we butcher it the whole
You remember
time?
that? Oh, we were saying it like so crazy wrong. But of course we were, because like the next town over is Flow Maton, but it's not. It's Flow Maton.
Flow Maiden. Voyage.
Okay. Anyways, what was I saying? I wonder if right now if there's like that thing where they're having to do like a cleanup from spills and like heavy metals that ended up in like the people, a lot of people in the area like ended up getting diagnosed with like crazy tumors and stuff in that area, because that would align with being the thing.
That's where I'm from, literally. That happened in Canonsburg.
There's recently Cleveland and Chattanooga got flagged for like a horrible like something going on down there because we have Sequoia.
That is terrible.
Yeah, and so now they're having people go get tested and stuff for things if you lived in
what's
the
crazy
area.
Is that like the area at home like is listed as radioactive, but they didn't make the link to the very, very rare brain cancer that these children were getting. It was like a 1% chance of developing it, yet there was like 18 in one community.
Oh my God.
Until like maybe 2012, I think is when they made it. It's insane. Anyway.
That's crazy.
So then there's also hydrogen sulfide, which is a naturally occurring gas found in some oil and gas deposits. And at low levels, this is that stuff that you're like, I have a gas leak. It smells like rotten egg.
Yeah.
But at slightly higher concentrations, it can actually dull your sense of smell, meaning that some people might smell something sweeter instead, which lines up with what some of the people were saying. Exposure from this can lead to burning in the throat or eyes, coughing, disorientation, seeing people.
The daughter was coughing.
Yep. And in some cases, a heavy, almost paralyzed feeling in the body. All of which sound very, very familiar. And of course, the final theory is that there really, actually, I have one other one after this, but there really was a mad gasser after all. Just some local crazy scientist that got away. Because the attacks kind of did seem targeted in a way. All of the streets, I didn't mention this because I just didn't feel like making a map, and I also didn't really understand it, but so in the area, you know, you have North Street, South Street, and it was split up by blocks. So 19th, 21st North Street, 19th North Street, whatever. Majority of these people were on like the same night. It would be like 19th North Street, 21st North Street, Bergam Avenue, which is right next to North Street. You can look into it if you want. I just actually didn't feel like it.
I'm sure there's probably like a map that someone's made on like Reddit or something.
100%. So the attacks did seem targeted, yet investigators are not able to place a link between all of the victims. Some also, the final theory is that some suggest that this could have even been extraterrestrial.
It could.
Which would explain the different versions of this suspect, and that this gas, this odor, because one anonymous, I didn't include it because only one source did, and that source was Wikipedia. I knew you guys would eat me alive.
Oh God.
One source said that one anonymous person on that night of 9 people saw a blue gas.
Oh.
But that's the only person that saw a blue gas, and it was anonymous, and I only saw that on Wikipedia.
So it's like grain of salt.
Grain of salt. However, this could explain the blue gas if it was like a kind of thing to like disorient and temporary paralyze, and they do whatever they need to do, and then they dip.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is the story of the Mad Gasser of Mattoon, Illinois.
It was 100% worth 12 pages.
Yeah.
Loved it so much.
I feel like I flew through it.
You did. I want to talk about it forever, but I want to like, okay, wait. We always say we should do this, and we really should. Like, there's a handful of cases that I would love to do it with. I've only ever done it with one. I think it was, oh God. Oh, you'll remember. Remember, I made us get on Patreon, and I made us get on Riverside, and I was showing you all the.
Oh, yeah, the map out.
Yes, the map.
Like the PowerPoint.
That's what I want
on this
to do with this. Like, I want to spend hours on it, but there's nothing. I don't have it all in my brain right now. So I can't do it, but I love this.
I know it's almost true crime. I felt bad taking it away from you. But
no, because it's not even really true crime, because
it's a mass hysteria technically.
But I don't think it is.
I don't either.
I really don't think it is. I think that they can write it off as that because the majority of the victims are the people who were the first to like bring it up.
I think
women.
it's weird that the military pulled up so quick. Like, you know how?
What are y'all
like,
not?
This is the military. Like, you know how you have to beg for government aid, and we're in the middle of World War II. There's drafts happening.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Don't they have something better to be doing?
And they're like, we should definitely go to Mattoon, Illinois, and check that out.
Right.
Like, what?
Like, also at this time, like, there was just so much other shit going on that, like, last thing they need to be fucking worried about is going to Mattoon, Illinois.
For a couple people that reported feeling temporary paralysis for a couple of minutes.
Like, But
also, there is a huge theory that I saw on Reddit that people think that they legit, actually, it wasn't Reddit, it was TikTok. I saw it on a TikTok video in the comments. Everyone's like, yeah, no, I think so too. That it was just like a large case of sleep paralysis and they were all seeing the Hat Man.
Well, that low key, and that's what I thought at first.
You know how whenever we talk about sleep paralysis and then I have it that fucking night,
like
or you have
talking about it, yeah.
And so I think that could have been the case. Someone did have a case of sleep paralysis, freaked out, called the police,
to the news.
saw something, goes to the news, and everyone's worried about it. They're stressing themselves out at night. They're having cases of sleep paralysis. And also because people, because they're waking up paralyzed. Tensions were high
because also like we're in the middle of World War II.
Yeah.
And we were nearing the end of it, which was when like horrible stuff was coming out and like horrible things were happening. I don't know. I've always been curious about what people who were alive at that time like actually were hearing. Like I wonder 2 years, because didn't the war end in 1945, 1946?
47.
I'm not really sure. I know it was around that time. I wonder what they heard was happening at that point in time. Because, like, wait, it was 1945 is when World War II ended.
1945.
Yeah, 1945.
Yeah, so this was the last year.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know what they knew. Because I know it wasn't until everything was actually done that they knew about, like, the Holocaust and what was going on there. Because they were figuring it out as they were freeing the camps.
Yeah.
Discovering just tragic shit.
Yeah.
So
did you watch Nuremberg yet?
No, I can't. I mentally can't be there. First off, Paradise has me so mentally
I haven't
fucked.
seen it.
You haven't watched it yet?
No, I keep forgetting it comes out on Mondays.
Okay. Well, let me tell you this. This is all I'm going to say about this episode. Logan was pissing me off because he was like, I don't understand. Because of course they made us go down a different fucking rabbit hole. But then you get the answers you want.
Okay.
Yeah, you get the answers.
Was my theory right at all?
So
technically, yes. Okay.
No.
Oh.
But yes.
Okay.
But not in the way that you think.
Okay.
I need you to watch it. I was hoping that me and you would be able to talk about this today.
Yeah.
Morgan.
Well, luckily, I didn't because we don't have enough time.
We don't have enough time anymore. But listen, like, what I think Alex is crazy.
Wait, but you don't know yet.
We met.
Okay.
We not physically met, but like was introduced to a concept of it that is slowly making its way to, but it's so much different than I thought. And it's in a different capacity than I thought.
Okay.
So I don't know.
All right. I'm watching it tonight.
Yeah, you have to. You have to.
I keep forgetting. I don't know why in my brain I just fear like Tuesday, because everything lately that has been on Tuesday, Dancing with the Stars, it was always Tuesday night, always Tuesday night. So Monday night, and then also we've been started watching Marshalls, which is
Wait, do you swear you'll watch it tonight?
Yeah.
What time do you need to be home by to watch it?
Why?
Because I would like to do a recap at the end of What's New Wednesday. And we could do it tomorrow on virtual.
Yeah, I'm off tomorrow too, so we could do it
if you want to do that. Yeah, literally, because I'm not gonna edit. Guys, FYI, I've decided I'm not gonna edit it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. It's a good episode.
It's a really good episode.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
I'm not gonna let myself listen to the gasp. I know they're in there.
Yeah, they're in there.
They're in there.
My heavy breaths.
When I started hearing your breaths, what I started doing, I started making comments when you were breathing, so that way it would take my voices into the front. And whenever I put the studio sound on, so when you start hearing me gasp,
and if you hear a pause, it's just me looking at the non-existent camera, waiting for your reaction.
Morgan's like, and look, and also like we could get a reaction. I wish we could see. It's not fair that you guys get to see every single thing that we're doing whenever we can't see your reactions.
Right, that's a live show.
That is a live show. That is a live show.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day, but like, I don't want to do it virtual, but like,
that's not
I want to replay.
I can't look at the bunch of little tiny humans.
And also, like,
on the TV.
if I'm actually doing like an in-person live show, I'm so nervous. I can't look at your faces in the crowd.
Oh, I'm gonna find one person stare at them the whole time.
I know, but we can't do that because then we'll start bullying them like we always do, and not bullying them like being mean bullying. It's just like you become our friends. Like you become the person that we're like, and right, yeah. And you can't be anyone that we've ever known before.
Yeah. Okay, I'll watch it tonight.
Yeah, watch it tonight, and we'll do What's New Wednesday tomorrow.
And if for any reason Aaron's like, we're going to bed, then
you can watch it by yourself in the morning. Just act like you didn't.
Act like I've never seen it.
Yeah, and you can watch it by yourself.
Okay.
You can watch it all over again, because I want to do a recap on What's New Wednesday because so many of our Patreons were commenting when we did Patreon 106. We'll move on to my case. If you hear me gasping for air, talk. Make a sound. Just go, ooh, like make something. This is probably not an ooh or an R.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It's going to be like a, actually, no, it's not. It's really sad. How did I find this case? Because I wanted.
Thank you, Phoebe, for suggesting mine.
Thank you, Phoebe.
Appreciate that. Sorry.
So this, how did I find this? Let me think. Hold on. I need to press pause because I thought there was a reason I need to tell you guys why I found this. Hold on. Okay, just kidding. It's not the one that I thought it was. I had, of course, because why wouldn't I? I have like 17 cases pulled at one time. One of them was a requested case. And then I got too far into it. And then another one that I was going to do that I decided this is going to turn into a BTK. I need to hold off for a minute. But it's not a BTK level fucked.
Which is why your brain got on the, I could do a BTK right now.
Yeah, that's okay. Circling back to the beginning. So anyways, let us get into this case. This is really sad and it does involve a teenager. There's not going to be any like graphic detail in here, but this case just like bothers me in a way, I guess. Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. Maybe I should have a little drink of water. Let me have a little drink of water before we get started in here. Okay, got myself a little drink of water. This is the case of Evelyn or Evie Hartley. I know some people, when they see Evie, they say Evie, but like my little in my sorority was Evie and her name was Evelyn. And so I'm going to call her Evie mainly because
I know an Evie. So
I know some people say
Evie.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like,
I do know a few humans.
Oh, so I know the Pokemon Evie and then the dog Evie.
Oh, okay, so they're not, yeah.
And then I know Evie.
Yeah, Evie's, yeah. Okay, so it's approximately 6:20 p.m. on the evening of Saturday, October 24th, 1953 in La Crosse, Wisconsin, when 15-year-old Evelyn Evie Hartley was picked up by Viggo Rasmussen at her home. Now, if you're like Rasmussen, that name sounds really familiar. I had covered Sherry Rasmussen.
Sherry, yeah.
Years, not even.
I almost called her Christy.
Christy. You know Christy?
Yeah, Christy.
Sherry Rasmussen. She was
50 years ago.
Yeah.
You covered her.
Yeah, 100 years ago. It could have been on season 1. It was, my hair was short and I was still making TikToks. So
yes, you are.
2023, 2024. Also, someone commented on my TikTok and was like, has anybody checked in on this girl? She posted.
You're just doing it on live.
I'm like, maybe I should just. I told Maggie this year that I was going to do it. And I'm going to one of these days.
Listen, you had a bad year last year.
I had a bad year. 2025 was a rough year, okay? So I'm going to.
That gives you 2 more years of leniency.
Yeah, it really does. So I'm going to milk my my sad girl era until then. So Viggo Rasmussen picks her up at her home. Evie was a very well-respected and sought-after babysitter even at her young age, especially by family friends and her father's peers. Mr. Rasmussen, like her father, was a professor at La Crosse State College. Some places called it La Crosse State Teachers College, but either way, now it's called the University of Wisconsin, La Crosse.
Okay.
And I hope it's La Crosse. It's spelled L-A as one word, and then C-R-O-S-S-E.
La Crosse.
La Crosse. La Crosse.
Where's that at in Wisconsin?
Pull it up on the map. I can't really remember because I looked up like 500 different places on Google Maps. So anyways, that night was the college's homecoming game, football homecoming game. And this was an event that Mr. Rasmussen and his wife would simply like just not miss, period, point blank. It's not happening. They're not missing it. They were fine with taking their oldest daughter, who was 6 or 7 at the time. Her name was Rosalind, with them, but they knew it was just going to be way too much to take their 20-month-old daughter, Janice, with them. Therefore, they hired one of their favorite out of their top 3, like in rotation babysitters, Evie. I don't know why I called her Evie, I guess because we said that. Evie for the night. When the Rasmussens reached out to ask her to babysit a few weeks prior, Evie was very happy to do it because she didn't have any plans at the time. However, a week or so before, all of her friends all of a sudden decided they wanted to go to the game. And she's like, I literally told this couple that I was going to babysit for them. So she like went to her mom and was like, please, mom, let me back out and see. Like, it's a week ahead of time. And her mom's like, honey, you cannot do that. It's a week ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like, everyone in town is going to this game, of course. So like all the babysitters are already taken. Like, you cannot do it. I'm sorry. It sucks, but
I've been there.
Now, also, there's the side of it that says there were reports that said it was because of her friends. And then there was this other I saw about 3 different sources, and I don't know if they were just dramatizing for the storytelling of it all, but they said that her mother later said, she said, but Mom, I have a bad feeling. Just let me go to the game. I don't want to babysit. I have a bad feeling. But there's no way that a 15-year-old girl who's trying to get out so she can go with her friends to the game, who just decided a week before, is also going to say, but I have a bad feeling. And then her mom's like, then you're staying home. Like, you're not going to the game.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know, because I feel like that would be, I feel like for me, and I think it's only because of a later part that people added that part in to the beginning for the storytelling.
I could see her mom telling, or reporters or
detectives
or whatever, that she was like, she really did not want to babysit. Like, she was,
and they took it and ran with it. Especially, again, because something that comes up later that is true to the story. So her mom's like, I'm sorry, no, they're not gonna be able to find a replacement. You can't do that. This is one of your father's peers. Like, unfortunately, you're just gonna have to suck it up. Evie was devastated, but she understood. She was a mature 15-year-old. She wasn't going to be, she was making money, you know, at the end of the day. So she understood, and she never let on that she was disappointed at all to the family. Now, Mr. Rasmussen and Evie arrive at their home, which is located on Hausler Drive, and this is like a newer neighborhood that was on the edge of La Crosse. And they went inside, where Madeline, his wife, walked Evie through Janice's routine before she, her husband, and their eldest daughter, Rosalind, got back into the car and they headed to the game. So they were going to get there a little early. I don't know if the game started at 7, 7:15, 7:30, but they were going to get there at 7 for parking and all that. Once the family left, Evie placed this bouquet of flowers that she had brought for the family in a vase on the kitchen counter or on the kitchen table. She took her school books and put them in the living room. And then she went about the bedtime routine with baby Janice. The routine was pretty simple for a seasoned babysitter like Evie. Everything else was done up until that point. So baby Janice had been fed. She had had her bath. Basically, all Evie had to do was hold Janice to get her to go to get prepared to fall asleep, and then put her in her crib at 7 p.m. sharp. Once she fell asleep, which was pretty much always before 7:15, Evie was going to have to go back in there and then cover her up with a blanket, but she would never fall asleep with a blanket on her. So that's exactly what Evie did. Back at the Hartley home, Evie had only been gone for about half an hour, like just over, maybe 45 minutes. Because mind you, she left at like 6:20. And so this was at around 7 p.m. that her mother, Ethel, just all of a sudden gets this overwhelming urge to immediately call her daughter and check in. So much so that she goes to her husband, Richard, which is Evie's father, and says, I have a really weird feeling. I think we need to call Evie and check in on her. And he's like, honey, she's fine. And plus, she's going to call us at 8:30 because that was the rule. At the like halfway point, she just needed to call in and check in with her parents. Yeah. So the plan for that night was that she was going to call at 8:30 p.m. and check in with her parents. But 8:30 would come and go, and no call would come from their very mature and extremely responsible daughter. By 8:45, the couple could wait no longer, especially Ethel. She was like, fucking call her. I've already had a bad feeling. Call her right now.
We need to call her now.
So at 8:45, Richard picks up the phone and he calls the Rasmussen house himself. But there was no answer. He waited a few minutes for a call back, thinking, okay, maybe baby was just like having a hard time going to sleep. She finally got baby to fall asleep in her arms and was just
then
like
the phone's ringing,
trying to get her down, just panic. Yeah, so like she's like trying to get the baby down so she can go and answer the phone, whatever it is. He waits a few minutes thinking for sure she's gonna call me right back, but again, nothing. So he calls again and again and again. By 9:15 p.m., Ethel refuses to ignore her mother's intuition for another moment, telling her husband to get his ass in his car and drive his ass over to the Rasmussen house to go check on their daughter. Richard did just that. He drove the less than 2 miles from his family home to the Rasmussens. As the home came into view, he saw the lights were on inside. So like all the lights were on, lamps and everything, like it looked pretty normal. And that chilled his nerves a lot. Okay, because like you're pulling up and you're like, okay, the lights are on. It's not like it's a completely dark house. If it's a completely dark house, I'm running the car through the house, like type vibes. He sees the lights are on. He calmly pulls into the driveway, parks his car, opens the door, and starts walking towards the house. And as he's getting closer to the house, he can hear faintly the radio playing inside the house, playing music. So Richard makes his way up to the front door and began knocking, loud enough that his daughter would be able to hear that there was a knock at the door, but not too loud that it could potentially wake up the sleeping baby. And he waited and waited, but Evie never came to the door. So he knocked on the door louder and louder as that panic that only a parent could feel began rising up his body from his heels to his ears. Before he knew it, Richard was banging on the door, screaming Evie's name and repeatedly pressing the doorbell over and over and over again. Screw if the baby wakes up. Who cares? His baby's inside and she's not answering. Banging on the door, screaming her name, banging the doorbell. It was so loud that even a neighbor came out. He grabbed the door handle, throwing all decorum aside, ready to barge his way into this house that was not his, but the door was locked. Unable to stand still any second longer, Richard began cupping his hands around his eyes and looking into every single window on the front of the house. He was able to see a clear view into the living room where there were no signs of his daughter from what he could see. Frantic, he begins making his way around the home, peering into every single window that he passed, searching for his daughter or any sign of her as he made his way to the back door. With his ears ringing and heart pounding harder than it ever had before, he tugs on that back door handle only to find that just like the front, it was also locked. His hands flew off the handle, literally, and he began beating down the back door, screaming for his daughter to no avail. Continuing around the home, determined to make a full 360 as he peered into, again, every single window that he passed, not even bothering to look where he was walking, when Richard trips over something.
Oh, no.
The sudden change of pace was kind of like a restart button on his nervous system, so he was able to think a little bit clearer because, it just like kind of snapped him out of it when he tripped over something. So after regaining his balance, he looks on the ground behind him and he sees there's a mesh screen that had been pried off one of the windows to the basement. And that window was wide open. Not giving it a second thought, Richard shimmies himself into the window. So it was kind of like a window well that went down beside it. Right. And then he was able to get in that way. And it was only like one of those half windows. So it's not even like a big full-blown window down there.
Oh my God, I bet his stomach fucking dropped.
Oh my God. So he jumps down into this window well. He shimmies his way down into the completely dark basement, not a light on. He's able to use the very little light that there was coming through the windows, which, seeing as this was a brand new neighborhood that didn't even have all the street lights up yet, was very, very little. He was able to somehow find a light switch and turn on the lights, which revealed a staircase that led up to the main floor of the home, where the radio was still playing, now louder than it was from outside the home. And lying at the base of the stairs was a single black shoe with tassels, one that he immediately recognized as belonging to his daughter, Evie. And just like that, the panic took over his body
Base of
and
the stairs
mind.
In the basement.
Once again. So now, like, he kind of was chilled out that he had that, like, regulation of, like, getting inside the house. He's feeling a little bit better that he's inside the house. But then when he sees her shoe at the floor, on the basement floor at the bottom of the stairs, he's like, oh shit, it's back now. Like, I'm scared. So he flies up the stairs where he walks into the living room that is now in clear view of him. Like, he can see the entire floor of the living room, which he couldn't see from the window because it was one of those higher windows and the couch was blocking it. And what he can see is scattered across the floor were Evie's school books that she had brought with her other shoe and her brand new glasses broken beside them. But most alarmingly was muddy shoe prints smeared across the rug and several droplets of blood. Richard took off through the house, barging into every single room and closet there was, in search of now both his daughter and baby Janice. Thankfully, inside her nursery, peacefully asleep inside her crib, was baby Janice. However, Evie was nowhere to be found. Richard either grabbed the phone inside the house and called 911 at 9:49 p.m. or that neighbor who had come out and heard him had been like, what can I do? And he was like, call 911.
Okay. Damn. Oh my God.
And soon after, 2 officers arrived at the Rasmussen house where they found Richard Hartley frantically waving them down in the driveway, holding baby Janice in his arms, wrapped in a blanket. They rolled their eyes as they had been told that this was likely a 15-year-old who had snuck off with her boyfriend when she was supposed to be babysitting and would be found in the next 10 minutes.
I literally knew that was going to be the thought because I was
course.
thinking, I was like, this is how naive my parents are, is that if they walked upon the scene when I was babysitting in high school, they probably would have thought, that bitch snuck out through the basement.
I mean,
locked both
low
the
key
doors.
though, they wouldn't be wrong for thinking that because
I know.
you would.
I would have.
I mean,
like, I truly think that they'd be like, okay, well, she locked both the doors. The baby was sleeping, and she freaking snuck out.
She fucking snuck out. She's in the backyard somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what they'd be thinking. Her shoes, she's just stripping down for that guy's shoes. That's exactly what they'd be thinking. Basically, the cops are thinking that, so they're like not taking it serious. They're like, this guy fucking waving us down, being crazy out here, got this baby out here in the cold. Like, oh my God. Also, they're like, it's our hometown college game, like homecoming game. We're having to come all the way over here for this.
Right.
So Richard's like, I don't care. Come inside the house. Come in here. Let me show you this. So he takes them inside the house and shows them this terrifying scene. And they immediately are like, oh my God, this is an abduction. Something horrible has happened here. Within minutes, the home is swarming with officers, taping off the entire street, blocks of this street in this neighborhood, making way for only the detectives, the DA, and the La Crosse County Sheriff to come to the scene and check it out themselves, which is what the Rasmussen family pulled up to when they returned home from the game, having no idea what had happened. From what responding officers had found on just their initial walk around the home, like while waiting for the detectives to arrive, was already concerning. This included prying marks from like screwdrivers or a small crowbar. I don't know what screwdriver is equivalent to a small crowbar.
Me neither, but
like, okay, cool.
Unless they were like putting the screwdriver in the
guess,
side instead of like.
But like, I've never seen a crowbar small enough to be confused with a screwdriver.
Yeah, me neither.
So, okay. Anyways, so they found these pry marks on 3 different windows around the home. And the 4th one was the basement window. This shows that Evie's captors or abductors or attackers had made several attempts to get inside the home before entering through the basement window. So they were determined to get in here, and she had the radio playing, so she couldn't have heard them. Next, they found a size 11 shoe print, or several size 11 shoe prints, in the window box leading, in addition to Richard, her dad's shoes, in the window box leading into the basement that perfectly matched the muddy footprints found on the living room carpet. Also, in/around the basement window, officers observed a button and red threads that had been caught on the window well and tore off. Officers observing the scene left all of this untouched so it could be properly photographed and then collected by detectives once they had arrived. Unfortunately, though, the button and the attached thread had been blown away by the wind that was like really harsh that night before they could take the photos of it. But I believe the detectives did see the thread as well and the button, and so did Richard. But if I'm being totally frank, finding that thread and the button were truly the least of their worries when it came to looking through the yard, because what else he would find would shape how they went about investigating this case. You see, the droplets of blood that Richard saw on the living room floor did not end in the living room. They were not contained to the living room at all. These droplets of blood were actually only the beginning of a trail that he had actually walked right over when he was coming up the stairs from the basement and even outside of the home. Yeah. Because, he's not even thinking about that. He saw his daughter's shoe. He's not looking around for and they were droplets as if it was like a broken nose. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it was pools. It was just drops throughout. This trail of droplets of blood would lead through the house, down the basement stairs, into the basement, out the basement window, up the window well, and through the backyard, where they would find 2 pools of blood, indicating that Evie's attacker or attackers had hit her over the head or caused more injury to her once they were outside of the home, had carried her or been carrying her or holding her up, and then had to sit her down in these 2 different locations for a break. Also in the backyard, they found a bloody handprint that belonged to Evie that was approximately 4 feet off the ground on the sidewall of a detached garage that was only 100 feet behind the home. And the blood trail then continued into a neighbor's backyard to the front of their yard with additional stains on the siding of that neighbor's home. That also indicated there had been a severely injured person, i.e. Evie, that had been like sat down and then drug alongside the house in this area and left to rest there a few minutes at a time, thus allowing for some pooling to happen. Immediately, bloodhounds were brought in and were able to track the scent for 2 blocks. So Evie scent and this blood scent. And through this, they were finding droplets of blood and other pools of blood. But each of the bloodhounds abruptly stopped at the same exact spot. And this was on Coley Drive, and this is just northeast of the home. So guys, imagine that you're looking at a calendar, Jesus Christ. Imagine that you're looking at like the satellite view from Google Maps, okay? So this area is like a bunch of squares. The Rasmussen house was not the corner house, but just to the right of the corner house. And if I'm standing in the middle of their backyard, I'm looking at the back of 3 different houses. So the first one is the one that's like on the corner of the street. The second one is the one that faces the outer street, so the top of the square, not the side of the square. And then there's the one to the right of that, if I'm looking down or if I'm standing in the backyard looking at them. It was the right side of the house, the far right house that they had walked up the side of and had those blood drag marks, and then turned right once they got to the front of that. So now we're on Cooley Street instead of the same street that I think was like Houchler Street. Anyways, turn right just a little bit, and then the scent abruptly ends. So they believe that there had been a car parked there, and they had put Evie in this car and had driven off to a different location.
Damn.
Officers went door to door searching for any witnesses that they could find, and thankfully they managed to get some very good leads. You see, it was not like the Rasmussens lived, again, like I was just explaining to you, in a very remote area with their closest neighbor being miles and miles away. No, they lived in a very Midwest American neighborhood. Houses were right beside each other, right behind each other, like just packed in there on a block. Your backyard was your behind you's neighbor's backyard.
Right.
You know, and your neighbor's side yard was your side yard. So very tight on top of each other, very Midwest Americana neighborhood. Many of the neighbors told investigators that they had seen a suspicious car driving around the neighborhood that night, most of them saying that it was a lighter color car. With another neighbor named Elvin telling officers that he was sitting on his front porch when at around 7 p.m. he heard 2 to 3 sharp screams or shrieks, with the third one being cut off mid-shriek, as if someone had like covered someone's mouth. He looked around because it startled him and saw nothing. So he assumed that it was just like the neighborhood kids being rowdy as hell, roughhousing, and, you know, just doing normal kid things.
Because why would you think it was anything
Why would
else?
you think it was anything else? But about that time, his wife, who had been in the kitchen at the time and also heard it, came barreling out to the front porch where he was and was like, did you hear that? Like, did you see anything? Later telling police that she did not take that sound or interpret that sound as being as playful as her husband did. She said it felt ominous and like someone needed help.
Woman
I'm
knows.
trusting the woman.
Yeah.
Like always, I have chills just even thinking about that because, you know, she ran out the door and was like, did you hear that? Like, and he's like, it's just like fucking kids being crazy. Another local man came forward and his name was Ed. And he told police that he had been driving through the area because he was going to pick up his brother-in-law before heading to the homecoming game together. It was approximately between 7:05 and 7:10 p.m. when he turned on to Coley Drive. So this is where the scent ended and they believed that the car had been parked. And as he's turning onto Coley Drive, his headlights briefly bright light the hell out of this group of people. It was 2 young men with a young woman, quote, sandwiched between them, as if they had been holding her up and were carrying her home. Ed assumed that they were just some local teens or local college students who had tailgated a little too hard for the game and needed to go home early. Because of that, he didn't think anything of it. He picked up his brother-in-law on Sunrise Drive. Now, this is a street, again, if we're looking at the satellite view.
Is the housing development still there?
Yeah, I'll give you the exact address. Let me press pause so I'm not blowing anyone's spot up. I just showed it to Morgan, but if I can hopefully find Morgan, are you okay? Morgan had to plug in her phone and then her mic just went flying. I just showed it to Morgan on Google Maps, and if I can find, because I did see a few different diagrams, but a lot of them had the exact address on it, and I just don't like putting
right, because it's still an active
someone lives there, you know, and like I don't want anyone just like going and being a freak and like looking at people's houses. But anyways, I have it pulled up for Morgan so that way she could see what I'm talking about. If we're looking on the satellite view, the house that's the street that's the block to the left, so directly parallel with Hausler Street to the west is Sunrise Drive. And Ed picks up his brother who lives there, which again is just directly a block to the left of where Evie had been taken. He gets his brother-in-law in the passenger seat of the car. They pull out of his house and they go north towards the game. So basically he's crossing back over the street where he had seen the college kids / teenagers walking that he thought were drunk.
Right.
And he's almost slammed into, before he can even get out of his brother's street or brother-in-law's street, he's almost slammed into head on at 7:15 p.m. by a dark and light green two-toned 1941 or 1942 Buick heading the opposite direction. So they're heading south. And they were so close to hitting them that Ed's headlights lit up the inside of the Buick, where he and his brother-in-law saw, quote, a young man driving, another one in a back seat who was holding up a young woman who was slumped forward, with her head landing on the back of the front seats following the sudden braking to avoid crashing into me and my brother-in-law. Ed commented to his brother-in-law, oh shit, I think those were those drunk ass kids that I just saw a few streets over trying to get one of their friends home. And then he was like, oh, they're probably hammered from tailgating. And then they just continued on their way. It wasn't until he saw a photo of Evie and the location of her attack the next morning when like reading the newspaper that he was like, oh, holy shit. That's the girl I saw. That's who I saw. And also because she had on a very distinct outfit. Red denim pants, that red thread, a white blouse, and she was in only white bobby socks at that point, but she would have had on her black tassel shoes. He immediately calls the detectives and gives over this information about the people that he had seen. And after hearing all of these witness statements, detectives immediately went to Richard, Evie's father, having already spoken to Madeline Rasmussen about Janice's bedtime routine, asking him if Janice was covered with a blanket when he found her asleep in the crib after entering the home. He says no. She was not covered up with a blanket. In fact, the blanket was actually hanging off the side of her crib when he picked her up and wrapped her in it so he could take her outside with him to wait on the police.
She never got back to the room.
Meaning she put her down at 7 and it was by 7:15 that she was gone. This aligns perfectly with the shrieks at 7, just after 7, and then what Ed and his brother-in-law saw. So that means it was just 15 minutes after the Rasmussens had left their home and exactly when Ethel, her mother, had that feeling, that urge to call her, that something happened to Evie. Her attacker or attackers had to have been waiting and watching for them to leave before beginning to make their multiple attempts to get into the home. Evie had likely just put Janice down in her crib, made her way back down into the living room, and had just sat down on the floor with her books when she was ambushed. It's not like they were only entering the home to rob it either, because nothing had been taken. The place wasn't ransacked or anything like that. All they wanted was Evie. They had to be someone that knew she was going to be there and knew that she was going to be there alone. Someone who knew Evie was going to be the babysitter for the Rasmussens that night. Remember, they had 3 different ones that they rotated between, and she really wasn't even their main one. She wasn't even their like second call. She was always their third. But who and why? Evelyn Grace Hartley was born on November 21st, 1937, which is Lola's birthday.
Oh.
As the youngest of 4 children belonging to her parents, Richard and Ethel Hartley. Her father, Richard, was a professor of biology at La Crosse State College and was very well liked. The family was heavily involved in their church community, being members of First Presbyterian Church, where Evelyn was an officer for the youth program and for the Westminster Fellowship. She loved hiking, skiing, swimming, golfing, tennis, and drama. Evie was a straight A student with her favorite subject being science, just like her father, but was known as being a kind, quiet, and dependable girl. Unfortunately, Evie's disappearance wouldn't be the first tragedy that struck the Hartley family, because 7 years earlier in 1946, they had lost their oldest son, Richard, to polio when he was only 18 years old and had just returned home from his service.
That just threw me for a curve on where we are in the time frame.
I know.
Okay.
So 1946. This is why I knew World War II ended in 1945. Oh. He had just gotten home from World War II and died of polio.
Wow.
Yeah. The Hartleys were desperate to find their baby girl. I mean, she was their baby. She had one older sister, I think her name was Catherine, and one surviving older brother named Thomas. He was in college at the time. And I was reading his obituary. He died in 2016. I was reading his obituary. He was a high up botanist and researcher, and lived in Australia and worked for the government in Australia for all of his life.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. And apparently he was a phenomenal jazz musician.
Wow.
Too, on the side.
Yeah, I mean, I can just tell that this family is very, very intellectual, because to have a babysitter back then, people would, everyone called, you know what I mean? That was a good student. That was, everyone knew she was well behaved, a good girl. You could
trust her. Yeah,
you trust the family.
You trust the family, and you know that they're good people and that they're going to take it. They're going to be responsible. The Hartleys were desperate to find their baby girl, painting the entire town in flyers that described Evie as being 5'7", 126 pounds, with straight brown hair, shoulder length, and blue eyes. When she left her parents' house that night to go to the Rasmussens, she was wearing red jeans that she had cuffed at the bottom to show off her white bobby socks and brand new black tasseled shoes, with her white blouse as her top. The Hartleys could not think of anyone who would want to target their daughter, and neither could any of her friends or anyone that knew her. She didn't have a boyfriend or even any crushes that anyone knew of at the time. She had gone on a few dates, but wasn't in a relationship with anyone. Evie didn't really have any enemies, and the family didn't either. They were good people, and there was no one that seemed to have any problems with them. Investigators looked into the owners of every single one of those cars that matched the description of the two-toned green 41, 42 Buick, even cars that were just similar models but different makes. They looked into every local college man that drove a similar car or even had access to a similar car, but they were coming up empty-handed before the 36-hour mark had even passed into the case. So to help them in their search, they took photos of the cars that they were looking into, and they brought them to every single one of the local gas stations around La Crosse and the surrounding areas, telling the gas station clerks that if you see a car similar to this, gas station employees, honestly, if you see a car, period. If a car comes in here, period, just do this. Go up, and we want you to check the back seat for any blood stains, because they knew that there was going to be a lot of blood that was left behind, or anything that looked suspicious. And if there was nothing found, they were going to place a sticker that was given to them by police on the back of the car that says, "My car is okay." With police, they printed off 40,000 of these stickers, which was going to mean every car that was registered in the area was going to be checked.
Holy shit.
Holy shit is right, bitch. Police also encouraged the public to go to either police stations or gas stations around the area to have their cars voluntarily checked in exchange for the sticker. Because if you didn't have a sticker, it was deemed as reasonable cause to be pulled over by police and to have your car searched without needing a warrant. Period. Why the fuck aren't we doing this now?
Right.
Hello?
Too many cars, I guess.
100%. That's what we need to be doing. Over 2,000 people volunteered to search for Evie, performing grid searches of land, bodies of water, and even pilots, local pilots, were coming forward with their own planes doing aerial searches from the sky. Local Boy Scouts even joined in the search to aid in the efforts of digging up recently dug graves at cemeteries to make sure that her body hadn't been thrown in one of them. Why are the Boy Scouts doing that?
No, why are they having
Why do you have the elementary kids doing that?
I guess Boy Scouts also back then were also
that's 18, what they were.
Eagle Scouts.
Yeah, but why are they doing that?
Yeah.
Don't have to be doing that. They're supposed to be selling popcorn.
Right.
Okay, let them sell
for $30
popcorn.
a bag.
Yeah, for $400 a bag.
And I'm a sucker.
And I will take it. And they are delicious.
For $100.
Fine, I'll take them. So they were digging up the recently dug graves in the cemetery. Thomas, Evie's older brother, who was in college, the one I was telling you about, went to Australia and all this stuff, he immediately came home, and he and his best friend, who he had grown up with, covered within like the first few hours of him being home before it was getting dark, 3 miles worth of manholes in La Crosse, lifting each of the covers off, climbing down into storm sewers and searching for his sister. Wow. I read this and it was like so sad, so I didn't really want to detail it in my notes, but I'll just give you the blurb. But basically, like, when it was nighttime and his parents were like, okay, you need to come in, like, we're going home now, he like kind of started freaking out and was like, no, I'm not leaving, we have to find her, it's like been 2 days, like, I'm not leaving, I don't care if it's dark. And they were like, you have to, we can't risk something happening to you, you have to come in.
Wow.
It was horrible.
That is fucking terrible.
So terrible. Meanwhile, the forensic department confirmed that all the blood found at the scene and around the house and all that stuff was type A, which was Evie's blood type. Again, this is in the 50s, so we don't have any DNA. They were also able to identify those shoe prints that were left behind both inside and outside of the home. The patterns matched as being size 11 Goodrich brand sneakers, which would become even more significant to the investigation just 4 days after Evie went missing, when on Wednesday, October 28th, a bra and a pair of women's underwear were found covered in dried blood, like completely soaked, on the southbound side of Highway 14, just 2 miles south of La Crosse, near this town of, I think it's Lafarge.
Why is everything La?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on in this area. Like, maybe that's a big French area. I thought maybe Wisconsin was all German in my like brain. Anyway, so they find this blood-soaked, now dried underwear and women's bras. They were in Evie's size. And this was very, very odd, though, because the searchers had just grid searched this exact area, walked in this exact spot less than 24 hours prior to it being discovered. And those items were absolutely, positively not there.
Like, they were following the grid search and just went behind where they had already searched.
Exactly. Then, just 3 days later, on Friday, October 31st, a third search of the highway, because once they found this, they did another search of the highway. A third search 3 days later happened on Friday, October 31st, Halloween, was performed on this exact area, but just continuing walking back and forth down the areas that they had already searched, when they find, just a little bit further down from where the bra and underwear were found, a pair of size 11 Goodrich sneakers that had seemingly been tossed out of a moving car on moving southbound vehicle, just like the bra and underwear. And when compared with the prints found at the scene, it was the exact match. And then approximately 800 feet south from the shoes was a size 36 denim jacket that was found covered in blood, dried blood. All these items came back as having type A blood on them. But going back to the shoes, this specific model of the Goodrich shoes were called Hood Moguls, and they were only sold in Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, and Minnesota at the time. Also, based on the soles of these shoes and the tread patterns, whoever wore them likely worked with heavy machinery and often rode a Whizzer motorbike, because it had this baked in tread pattern on the bottom that showed, like, I guess from where the pedals were or whatever, and like this specific type of tread that there was on that. You know what I'm talking about? It was like baked into the bottom. Yeah, because they get hot back then. Right. Oh my God, literally, I drove a 3-wheeler one time and burnt the whole side of my leg. I still have a scar to it to this day. So who knows what the fuck that was like back in the 50s. But here's something really interesting that investigators found also with these shoes, is that it was determined that 2 different people had worn these shoes recently, and like pretty often, as if they had like been borrowing them or sharing this pair of shoes. Okay. The first person, who was kind of like the primary wearer, the shoes fit them perfectly with no problem. And the other person's feet, who was the secondary wearer, their feet were a size too big and like were really tight in the shoes. Now, moving on to the jacket, so it wouldn't have fit them comfortably. Moving on to the jacket, though, it had been cut off at the bottom and re-hemmed with like white thread that didn't match, and it was a, quote, rather cruel job, not professional by any means. And in the left pocket, they found blast fibers, like you would see with the scrubbing brush. One of its 4 buttons was missing, and under both of the armpits, running the entire width of the jacket, were these like wear and tear marks, like very worn. The fabric was super, super worn, leading investigators to believe, based on, I don't know how the hell they figured this out. This is crazy. Without DNA, they had to get so specific with shit, and it blows my mind that they were able to do this. But based on the wear and tear patterns of that jacket and the fibers that they found within the jacket. Investigators believe that this was a local tradesperson, but specifically based on the jacket wear and tear marks, they believe that this was a steeplejack, that this person worked as a steeplejack. Now,
what is a steeplejack?
That's what I had to Google, because what the fuck is a steeplejack?
person?
Literally, it's what I thought too. No, it's a craftsman who scales the sides of buildings. Like back in the day, like you'd have to like climb up the scaffolding and then you would clean it, make repairs. Like steeple, go to the highest point of these buildings, churches, and make repairs at the top. So they always wore jackets because they were in Wisconsin. They would be at the top of buildings. They were freezing to death, and they would have to like be working a lot with their arms. So their jackets couldn't be long, so they would most of the time kind of crop them so they would be snug on them.
Interesting.
And because like the way that the arms would be swinging and like they were holding stuff under their arms at the top, a lot of steeplejacks apparently have these type of wear marks on their jackets. Don't know.
Very, very good discovery on the investigators' part.
How creative.
Yeah.
I would have been like, they wore the hell out of this jacket.
Like, yeah, a jean jacket looks real warm.
This is a jacket that this person loved.
Right.
This is their only jacket.
It's well loved.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
that was crazy. Yeah. Steeplejack. But either way, all that creativity and like tell you all this crazy stuff, nothing helped them get any closer.
Oh no.
This didn't help at all. Before they knew it, days had turned into weeks and then months. They blinked and 7 months had passed. When in May of 1954, desperate for any single lead that they could get, any single clue that they could get, investigators began conducting mass lie detector tests. They administered them to every single male student.
Wow.
And every single male teacher from Evie's high school, Central High School, which was going to total over 1,750 men that were going to be polygraphed.
Good for them.
However, after 300 tests were administered, they had to stop because the community freaked out because they were like, you cannot do polygraphs on our kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Because, how many come up inconclusive,
Right. And like...
just by nerves.
But at the same time, let them do it.
Yeah.
But like the stickers and this is crazy. Like, good work. It's like insane to see this. And over the years, almost 50 different people have falsely confessed to the crime. And over 3,500 people were interviewed just in the first year of the investigation.
Wow.
Even still, though, the case of Evie went cold. Fast forward to 2004. This is what I found when I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Okay? You're not ready for this. Fast forward to 2004, when a 76-year-old man comes forward to police with something that would blow this case out of the water. Like, I want to say wide open because, but like, no, because it's, unfortunately, I'm going to spoiler alert for you. It's unsolved. But if this case was solved, I would say this blew this case wide open. He was an older man named Mel Williams, and he loved listening to live performers as he was an aspiring country music artist back in the day. So much so that he had moved to Nashville in the 60s. So back in his younger days, he would take his tape recorder with him to bars and he would record live shows so that way he could listen back to them. He could teach himself these songs and just classic, Yeah. Just like us doing trying to get our ringtones back in the day.
Right.
That's exactly what was going on.
Waiting for your song on the radio.
Yes. And it's like, everyone, shut up. Well, that year, 2004, he was going through and listening to his tapes. And I say that he comes across it. He was searching for this one. It was one that he had recorded at his brother's bar that he had owned in Lafarge when visiting his family from Nashville in 1969. This was, again, 40 miles. This bar was located 40 miles southeast of La Crosse. After the show, Mel had drunkenly forgotten to turn off his recorder and just left it on the table nearby and was unknowingly recording some conversations between himself and other bar patrons who had hung back with him and his brother and were just shooting the shit. One of these men was Clyde Peterson, who went by the nickname Tywee. Peterson was a, quote, small man with a drinking problem and a reputation for stealing, according to Case Files podcast, and began telling a story about how he used to smuggle whiskey into local psychiatric hospitals and give whiskey to alcoholics.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Clyde Peterson's good guy, if you guys were ever wondering.
Sure.
And he's interrupted by his drunk best friend Whitey Barclay, who asked, yeah, that was around the time that you hauled that Hartley girl down there, right? Avoiding the question, Peterson continues on with his story, but drunk-ass Barclay is not letting up. He says, yeah, you hauled her from La Crosse down to another address and then back to La Crosse, right? Peterson brushes him off again and says, no, what are you talking about? But still, Barclay will not let up, insisting, you did haul her here, though, didn't you? Frustrated, Peterson says, no witness, no proof. They haven't found her, have they?
Holy shit.
Then another person in the group says, who's the Hartley girl? Barclay explains the Cliff Notes version of the story I've just walked you through, okay? The drunken bar talk Cliff Notes version. So I can only imagine how horrific it was. And he implicates Clyde Peterson and two other men, a man named Jack Golfier, and this unnamed guy. I don't know if it just wasn't being picked up on the audio. I don't know if, I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if he never said his name or if he just said a nickname for the guy, but unknown guy. Either way, interestingly enough, Mel, this old man, the 76-year-old who had been recording this on his tape recorder unknowingly, he knew Jack Golfier, whatever. And he was when he brought this up and started saying this, when Barclay was telling the story and was implicating Jack and Clyde and all those guys, Mel was immediately yeah, definitely. He was 100% capable of killing someone. He was that violent and vicious of a person. He was a nasty motherfucker that no one should have ever been around. Either way, Barclay continues telling the story that Jack had met Evie while attending a party either the night before or just before her murder, when he asked if she was going to be at the homecoming game because everyone was going to the homecoming game. She said no because she had to babysit for the Rasmussens. Though it was not explicitly said, it is theorized that later that night, Evie had declined his advances and left the party, which made Jack obsess over getting what he wanted from her.
Yeah.
Therefore, they made this plan to go and attack her and abduct her. So the three of them, Jack, Clyde Peterson, and this unnamed guy, went to the house and abducted her and took her to a different house where they would kill her. And Barclay then claimed that he actually was responsible for digging the Hartley, quote, Hartley girl's grave somewhere in Lafarge. But abruptly stopped telling the story when he noticed the light still on Mel's recording device a table over. And he says, whose recording device is that? And Mel says, oh shit, that's mine. And he says, turn it the fuck off. So Mel goes over and he turns it off. Just drunk, not thinking. Forgetting that this entire encounter had happened until at the age of 76 in 2004, 50 years after Evie's murder or abduction, alleged murder, that he is reading the news paper and they had done a feature on Evie's case. And he was like, oh my God.
Wow.
So he digs through all of his tapes at the age of 76 years old and he finds that fucking tape. Thank God he hadn't recorded over it.
Wow. Thank God he had him.
Thank God he had could you imagine how many hours and days it took for him to find it after reading that? Oh my God.
Not to mention rewind, press play.
Oh my
rewind,
God. And
play.
make sure that you have something in 2004.
No fast forward.
Yes.
You just have to play.
Just so crazy. So he went through every single tape that he owned until he found it, and he handed it over to police, with investigators describing it as the, quote, best lead that they had ever received in the case. Unfortunately, however, both Clyde Peterson and Jack Golfier were dead by this time. In fact, Jack had died 2 years before this recorded conversation was even had, when he committed suicide on Christmas Day, 1967, whereas Clyde Peterson had died of a heart attack in 1974. But here's the thing, though. Investigators recognized both Peterson and Jack Golfier's names from the case file, from Evie's case file, because they were actually looked into in 1968 by the investigators that were in charge of the case at that time, though nothing ever came of it. And it wasn't really clear why they had looked into them. It was just said that they were interviewed, I guess, or looked into, I guess. It was likely due to Barclay. If he was just telling this drunken ass story random night, he was telling it to everyone. So it's probably that, and was making his way back to police. But some good news, though. Whitey Barclay, Mr. Yappy Yapperton, he was alive, but suffering from advanced dementia and living in a nursing home. But still, amateur sleuths from the internet, specifically one named Andrew Thompson, he reached out to Barclay's elderly wife and said, "Hi, would you sit down for an interview with me?" And she said yes. So she sits down with him. He asked her, like, do you know who Evie Hartley is? Had you ever met her? And she says, I didn't know her personally, but I think I met her the night before her murder at a party in Lafarge.
Damn.
Which was the same party Jack met her at.
Yep.
So I guess Andrew Thompson like tells her everything. And she says, well, here, why don't we just go ask my husband? So they get in the car. They drive to the nursing home or the memory care facility that her husband was at.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm like, that's crazy. But I guess if someone came to me and was like, hey, your husband is allegedly involved, I'd be like, yeah, let's go let's interrogate him. Let's, me and you, let's go. So they go there and they didn't like come out the gates with her, right? So she's like, I brought a friend to visit you. And they're all just sitting there yapping. And Barclay, just as he was when he was drunk and younger, just yapping, all happy to talk to somebody. And then Andrew says, I was wondering if you had ever knew or met an Evelyn or Evie Hartley. And immediately, Barclay freezes and will not speak again. He goes mute.
Wow.
After that, they left. And that was that. Other theories that surround Evie's case include maybe she wasn't the target and instead it was actually the Rasmussen's main babysitter, their regular girl who had gone to the game that night instead of babysitting for them. Like it was a case of mistaken identity, or they got in there and realized that it wasn't her, it was Evie, and so whatever. Another one brings up the fact that the home was located between two very active railways. So someone could have gotten off one of the railways and just done a random crime, like tale as old as time, especially during this time.
Yeah.
This is supported by the fact that during their canvassing of the neighborhood, 2 different women claimed that a man was staring at them through their windows at night, either the night before or the night of Evie's attack.
Damn, so it was psychopath on the list.
Mm-hmm. Only running off when the women confronted him, like went outside and were like, what the fuck do you want? Or like brought their husbands out or something. Which, again, women, if this teaches you anything, people don't fuck with crazy. Yeah. So be fucking crazy. Only running off after the woman confronted him. Some theorize that it was actually a robbery that turned into an unplanned abduction due to the robberies actually being really common. Like crime, specifically robbery, break-in crimes were higher in this area on the night of home games because everyone would go to these games. But lastly, and probably the most well-known, and if you're sitting here being like, why do I recognize Evie Hartley's name this entire time that you're sitting here telling me it? The most popular theory is that it was serial killer Ed Gein who was responsible for Evie's abduction. Because the day that she was abducted, he was in La Crosse, just a mile away, visiting his family members. Gein was explicitly asked about her abduction, but he denied any involvement, and he passed 2 polygraphs concerning her case, and there were zero trace from all the DNA evidence that's being tested still up until today of his stuff, because Ed Gein's the one who made...
Yeah, Ed Gein couldn't fit through that window. Sorry, do we need to edit that out?
No, you're talking about Ed Kemper.
Okay.
You're so right. Ed Gein's the one who...
The lamps?
With the skin lamps. Yeah.
He was so big, motherfucker.
But he never had anybody with him. And remember, our buddy, other Ed, okay Ed, who saw the lights. Who saw the light. I cannot get over Evan Kemper. That's the funniest thing you've ever said. I'm leaving it in. That's the funniest shit you've ever said. That was so niche to this podcast. No, because I was so niche to this podcast. Like, if you don't know our Edwin Kemper lore, then you will never understand Fatty Fat Fat Fatty. Like you,
Fat Fatty.
Trisha,
if anyone comes after us, then
truly
search TikTok trend 2022.
Fatty Fat Fat Fatty. Like, just calm down. Okay, calm down. Take a beat. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, wait. Let me get back into the Ed Gein mood. Not fun. Okay. So, okay, I'm okay. All right, so...
He's a mile away.
He's a mile away. They ask him, none of the DNA testing that was done on any of the things that he had in his house, which were like a nipple belt, skin faces and suits, fucked up, crazy shit. Nothing at his Wisconsin, what's the name of the town? Plainfield, Wisconsin property ever came back as being attached to or belonging to Evie. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank you, God. But despite authorities clearing Geen of any and all involvement in Evie's abduction, and this is as far back as like right after he was like, I think it was like really, really, okay, I don't know the exact date. I thought I wrote it down, but I had the exact date in here. It was like right after he was caught. They immediately were like, okay, you are not involved in the case. Move on. Thank God, because I was so afraid that her parents died not knowing that he wasn't involved, because what a fucking horrific thing. Yeah. But it was before they passed that it was like pretty quickly cleared up. Anyways, despite the fact that he was cleared of any and all involvement in Evie's abduction, some still consider it to be the number one theory in the case. So much so, which this pisses me the fuck off. This is why I said a lot of people would maybe recognize her name in correlation to Ed Gein, is because guess who plays her in the Monsters Ed Gein story on Netflix show? Oh, fucking Addison Rae.
What?
Yeah. And in the scene, it shows Ed Gein killing Evelyn Hartley, aka
which is
Addison Rae, with a hammer, beating her over the head with it.
Which isn't even confirmed.
It's not even confirmed.
Wow.
Just made up.
Great job, Netflix.
That's fucking crazy. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I didn't even know that Addison Rae was in that.
I didn't either.
I've never even seen it. But
I saw the first episode and that was about it.
Yeah, like I can't watch.
I think that's the one
series.
where he was like, is that the one with mommy issues? And he was like,
I covered it with Arletta on the podcast.
Choking himself and jacking off at the door, like at the very first episode. He was like choking himself because he got an erection from it, and then he was like jacking off on
he
his
would
stool.
put on his mom's clothes. He would put on his mom's clothes and jack off in them. I don't know, because all those guys did the asphyxiation.
Yeah, they all had mommy issues.
Yeah, all had. I mean, Edmund Kemper.
Mommy issues.
Mommy issues. Literally the worst mommy issues we could ever.
Maybe it was Edmund Kemper that I'm thinking.
Edmund Kemper would do that too, and so would BTK.
Yeah.
So I mean, God, we just these fucking freaks.
Like.
Sorry, are we really, like, I cannot believe there was someone tried to get us to apologize for making fun of these fucking freaks.
Yeah, no.
Really. I will never, over my dead body.
It made the biggest sense.
I will call them.
It was on everything. It was on our email, it was on our review, it was on our Instagram, it was on our TikTok.
They called Edmund Kemper, they fat shamed Edmund Kemper. And
I'll do it again.
And I'll do it again. Are you kidding me? I'm so sorry. I'm not even someone who talks like that. It's just that was the thing that triggered him. I'm sorry. Yeah. You're never going to make me feel bad for a serial killer, babe.
Yeah.
You're never going to make me feel bad for a woman-hating man either. So truly, fuck all the way off and go to another podcast, because it's never going to be me.
It's not us.
It's not going to be us. Okay, wrapping this up. To this day, unfortunately, Evie Hartley's case remains unsolved, but is considered a homicide. And if you have any information or know anyone that has any information, please contact the La Crosse Police Department at 608-785-5962.
Damn, dude. That's fucking sad and terrible and tragic. Did
2 hours? I'm not editing a single thing.
No, I can't believe you talked that long.
No. How long did I talk?
Hour?
A full hour.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like that long.
Like started at 5.
I guess because like I like went off and like told you guys there was a few times that I wasn't even reading the notes because I was just flying off the handle.
It was a good case. So sad.
So sad. It was so sad. But like what I hate saying like it's a good case, but like the part about this case that is so. When I say good case, I guess I really mean good coverage. Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. But when I'm saying, not to be tooting my own horn, I think you mean that I covered that. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. That was a good coverage on my part.
But what I'm saying is like I think when I say like this is a good case, it's that like I was able to heavily put myself in the headspace.
Not to mention just like the authority reaction, like local
Yes,
authorities.
like that's what I'm saying. Like I was able to be like so
they really
invested
did
and proud
and try every single thing that they
of what
possibly
happened
could for the time given and the technology
that
they
we're
had,
not
and
spending 4 hours ranting about how shitty the investigation was. Like we were
Right.
actually able to pay attention to the victim and the investigation that was at hand and the hard work that was put in to find her. Like there were clear steps in this investigation that were like great. Like I mean, just the stickers. Whose idea was that? Get them back in here.
Right.
What are we doing?
I'm gonna go trademark a red bubble on sticker that
my
says
car's
my
okay.
car's okay.
Yeah, and they said that like these became not like a trend. Like, I don't want to say that's nasty, but like for the next 40 years, people drove around with these bumper stickers on. Local people started selling them because everyone wanted them.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up. And I hope it went to like maybe like a foundation or something. As for Evie's family, in the 70s, so that would have been about 20 years after, again, like you were saying, like very just intellectual people, they basically came to terms with the fact that, I don't want to say came to terms, but like understood that she was not going to be coming home. If she was found, it was not going to be in the capacity that they had hoped for, that any parent would hope for. And because of that, they were like, there's no need for us to stick around here anymore and be haunted by this. So they ended up moving to Portland, Oregon. Both of her parents have passed by now. Her older brother, Thomas, has passed by now. And her sister, her older sister, I think her name was Catherine, is still alive.
Thank you for that.
Guys.
My eyes are burning, so
It's because it's 9 p.m. I'm glad we made our deal before that we're not doing What's
We
New
would have done
Wednesday.
it anyway.
We're not. But I'm glad you're going to go watch Paradise either in the morning.
I think it's going to be morning time.
Yeah, but maybe you'll get it out tonight.
Maybe.
At least like the front half of it.
He's on a kick.
What's his kick right now?
Oh, we've been in bed by 8, sleeping by 9.
Okay, well that's never going to happen on these nights, so.
So he's he'll be in bed whenever I get him.
Yeah, well that's nice. Well, you can watch it in the morning without him. We will never tell.
We'll never tell.
We'll
Everyone
never
hold
tell.
a secret.
You can go watch it on my Hulu profile, so you can't see that it's been watched.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Love you guys.
Scheming. Love you bitches. Bye.
Bye.